Alright. So, beginning of part 2, we now go to the morning of the next day, where Quinn gathers those who will be accompanying him on the task given to him by Odigos to eliminate the 10 highest stations in order to send a very clear message. 3, in fact. The first being to the foreign godly beings in your world, which is to stop hunting down and killing your native god's highest stations. Because y'all can do it too, and that you're not afraid of collateral damage in order to do so. It's been by the etiquette of your own world that they have not done so yet. Though this is a reminder of, we can do this. Let's see. And just for good measure, you'll be killing them in such a way that they become specters. So all that awaits these foreign godly beings come nightfall are fractured shells of what once was. Second message would be to everyone in Diotethys, which is that you all don't take too kindly to treason. And the third being for the godly beings, which is the implication that if you can find loyalists to them amongst your own world's mortals, finding their mortals from their worlds would be trivial, and you can do the exact same thing to them if you want to. So then, because in that case there is absolutely nothing stopping you all from doing it. Which will be the implication that doesn't need to be said, but they'll know. In fact, if you all happen to catch one of them today after hunting the 10 highest stations, that is precisely what fate awaits them, as their patron deities are currently busy addressing the Chronomancer issue from Sophia's shattering the false cosmic hierarchy and establishing the actual cosmic hierarchy. And since the overwhelming majority of Chronomancers operate in mortal time, this is an issue that can not be addressed in just a few hours of mortal time. In fact, Sophia suspects it'll take at least a day, possibly even 2, for foreign godly beings to handle the compensation and whatever other demands the Chronomancers of your cosmos are making of them. Because apparently there is what amounts to be a strike by the overwhelming majority of Chronomancers following Sophia's message delivered via the Truth Eternal. Who'd have thunk it?
They unionized.
There's a lot of angry Chronomancers.
They fucking unionized.
We demand at least 7 months of paid vacation time. And we cannot be distracted by godly affairs during this time.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like they gotta deal with this, and they have to deal it with the slow fucking mortal time, and they're just like, ugh. Well, I hope you're not doing anything busy in the next 2 days. Oh, like dealing with assassins going after your VIPs, and I'm sure it's good. They'll never find them.
Is it more like 50,000 years for them in the Astral Sea?
No. We're not assassins.
Like 2 days is like a couple, like thousands of years in true time. So from their perspective, they're just like, this is so slow.
No. We're not assassins. Assassins use finesse.
Alright, see.
We're worse than assassins.
See, the thing. This, however, is not a problem for Diotethys, as very few Chronomancers even knew about Eden until only very recently by the mortal calendar. So that is not their problem. Meanwhile, so as Quinn informs them all of what is to come, Etheropia had her reservations regarding Eliwick, whom Azimuth had requested to have her come along with as a sort of trial of sorts. Though upon close scrutiny from the witch, Etheropia remained unconvinced by Eliwick's answers and her resolve. So the Overgoddess cast her judgment for Eliwick to instead walk in the light and not be involved with this operation or others like it. And with the best of intentions, as the gnomish woman had remarkable virtue, so best not to blemish that or with cloak and dagger affairs if not necessary. And Eliwick's clearly not truly ready for. She is, but she's not. is effectively what she concluded. So out you go.
Whee!
She just threw her to Matilda, like, figure it out. And Matilda and Einstein are like, oh, we know exactly what we'll do with her. Nothing. It'll drive them crazy. It'll be awesome. Just trying to figure out what she and Maul are up to.
Surely she must be the linchpin.
Yeah, it's like you have Malt, and then
Kingpin,
just the seamstress. Why? Clearly they're up to something.
The seamstress strikes again. By you doing nothing, she has ruined everything.
Meanwhile, across the towns, all these explosions and shit happening, and it's just like, what do we watch? Huh?
I feel like there's a couple of foreign gods have already taken note of the pattern of Eliwick just being casting monkey wrenches in people's plans, so they're taking a special.
Of course she doesn't notice that yet. She's a nobody.
Okay.
She wasn't even notable until, like, literally you all, like, met that god.
Yep.
Like, down there. So she literally came from fucking nowhere. She's been notable for, like, a week and a half.
Yeah, in
Who the fuck is this mortal?
And with her tiny fingers, she just kind of boop that one rock that just causes a chain reaction.
Yes, it's like, if it weren't for you meddling high stations and that damn seamstress. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
So, with the memories of the exact details of the conversation erased from Eliwick's memories, she returned to Matilda to inform her of, well, what she had become and what to do. Which we will get to later. For now, Quinn noticed a few things about Easteropia during this exchange between Eliwick and the witch. And at that speculation is where we continue recording the text play. Part 2. The beginning. Number 1. Of, like, 70.
Many to come.
Number 1.
The beginning begins.
Okay. So, Quinn's ruminations on this potato.
The auto-crit conclusion. Goodbye, inspiration.
Yep.
We love
And
inspiration.
I haven't gotten any since. This was my last inspiration, and it was worth it. You think a bit about what she said to Eliwick, and one thing becomes abundantly clear. She's used to this, though not like before. As this is a deeper familiarity than simply being used to it. Easteropia has done these sorts of things a lot. She's no stranger to having to make sacrifices and difficult decisions. Because the fact of the matter is, she's absolutely correct. What Eliwick has to do here pales in comparison to what often happens in wars. Easteropia once again showing that she's too old for her apparent age. She mentioned that she was a magical girl for quite literally a few quadrillion years. But what about after that? How long has she... What?
How long was she?
Oh, how long was she in this eternity place? How long has she been in the cosmos? In this cosmos? Just how much mortal time, relative to her perspective, has this woman seen? She mentioned before that the Chief Magical Girl's powers are fueled by both aether and with a dash of possibility and certainty in them, depending on what she would be doing. And she mentioned that she mentioned that she's a... This is not the fucking time for me to have a horse throat. The Chief Magical Girl's powers are fueled by both aether and with a dash of possibility and certainty in them, depending on what she would be doing. And she mentioned that she's a Farseer. Though, did she not mention that Chief Magical Girl grants the ability to time travel? Can it actually do both? If that is the case, it only further begs the question, just how ancient is this woman, really? Because she's dropping truth and wisdom bombs left and right on Eloic, and this is her holding back due to a conflict of interest of her being a witch up until yesterday? You imagine this would be about the part where she would go into, here is exactly how we're going to do this, and then drop a perfect plan off the top of her head. Because she's not just used to this, she's lived it. And for who knows how long. Olivine mentioned last night how magical girls are, unironically, creation's last line of defense. They come in, take charge, and then get shit done to save a world on the brink of being destroyed by powerful evils. Which, wouldn't that effectively make them cosmic-level military in how they operate? And the chief magical girl would then be akin to the highest form of a general, which are only active in times of war. Except she's always been active until very recently, when she became a witch, where she was left with more or less nothing to do. With that in mind, you're fairly certain that she was being very literal when she said last night. Though, now that I have finally reached the finish line that I long strove for, the witches are a neutral party, so they are effectively above everything, acting as arbiters to ensure everything runs smoothly. And Isaropia is at the top of that, which would then mean that Isaropia is unofficially at the top of everything. And the way she speaks and carries herself while doing these sorts of things reflects that. In fact, the more you see it in this conversation, the clearer it becomes. Though at the same time, the fact that she's clueless about something other than being a high-ranking military general is kind of hilarious. She has specialized so much into being one thing that she's awful at everything else. It's almost like she's Catherine Premium Edition. Wait. Just what was she as a mortal anyway? She says that she doesn't know, and you believe her, as it was eons ago, long before she became a chronomancer. Because as you watch her interest with the others, you realize something. With how she is and what she became, she would never have gotten this far without a very firm foundation to stand on. As in, from her early childhood years, if not sooner. At this realization, you now find the conclusion here to be actually kind of obvious, especially after watching her just now. Which is that Isaropia's mortal life, she was raised to be something as a little girl. And whatever that something was, it certainly wasn't a person. It was a tool or a weapon, or perhaps even both. It's hard to say which or even what, but you're fairly certain it's something along those lines. She's akin to Olivine and Catherine, but instead of being raised to become an investigator or an assassin, she was raised to become something else. She said that she came from a dying world on the brink of destruction, which has dystopian written all over it. And as desperate times call for desperate measures, raising children to become elite soldiers from the moment that they can walk, that's a given. Hells, Molt mentioned that is precisely how breach gnomes are, as one does not become a breach gnome, they are born as one. Though, what about Isaropia? What was she born as? What was she supposed to become before she instead became a magical girl? Well, about those elite soldiers, you don't just make a highly specialized tool or weapon, and not make a specialized operator to use it. Because looking at her now, you cannot see her as anything other than a high-ranking military official drilling a healthy heaping of reality into a subordinate. The term born leader comes to mind. That's not quite right. Because she is a leader, technically, she's not an actual leader. Isaropia is something close to that, but not quite. Like a general, but not a general. So in terms of military, what would that then be? Your eyes widen just a bit at the very sudden realization. One that makes all of the puzzle pieces of Iseropia that don't just fit before to now all suddenly fit perfectly. Military strategy specialist. An officer variant of raising a child to become an elite soldier. They would have been raised to not think of people as people, but as numbers, figures, and pieces on a board, tools to navigate, place, and use when and where they're needed, and how they're needed. They would not need to function as a person as they aren't a person, as they are a calculating device, one that is finely crafted an instrument of war. Unlike with Pandoria agents, who would need to learn how to blend in with society, and a military strategy specialist doesn't need to blend into anything, as all they will ever do or know is military life and war. So basic human function is good enough. Because if you don't need to waste time learning how to person, you can jump straight into learning about what you were born to be and do. Which will perfectly explain why Iseropia is just such a baked potato when it comes to interacting with the outside, with others outside of war-related things. She was programmed from the moment she was born to not think of people in these ways. This would also explain her little to no self-esteem, as it's a little hard to build something that was programmed out of you from a very early age. This also explains why she thinks so little of herself as a person, because she was never supposed to be one. That too would have been drilled out of her, as well as any individualism and sense of identity. As sad as it feels to think this, but we think the reason Iseropia doesn't remember her name is because she never had one to begin with. At least not a real name, anyway. If you go with your dystopian future world theory, she would not have been old enough yet to need one. She would have been given one after she proved to be a success. And if she didn't achieve satisfactory results after all of her training and conditioning, disposed of, probably. Which seems wasteful, but if resources, both human and material, were plentiful in such a dystopian future, they could have afforded to throw away whatever wasn't perfection. They could just try again with another kid, several kids, over and over again until they had what they needed. You are reminded of what Olivine said about Maria's sister, Melanie, and her reincarnation, how she was the perfect magical girl. Well, that would be in terms of fighting. Iseropia would have been the other side of the coin of a perfect magical girl. One that directed and managed other magical girls that were the fighters, no doubt. Even before she became the chief magical girl, we'd wager, as not a lot of little girls would be very good at such things. Then, in comes this new magical girl that instantly solves all your logistical, infrastructure, and recruiting problems. She's a baked potato, but she knows what she's doing. And that is all that would have mattered to these girls. They probably didn't have very normal early childhoods either. Now give that same magical girl time, and she would rise to the top of the hierarchy with relative ease, which would explain how she became chief magical girl. Though, what if that wasn't good enough to accomplish what she was trying to do? She would make something that was, just like how she was made. Though at that point, she probably consciously forgot about it, but her subconsciousness may not have. Which would have explained her go-to solution being, make something that's like a magical girl, but only better. So she made a witch.
Alright, number 2. Where is this?
Out of 70 million. During your conversation with Olivine last night, you found yourself almost struggling to grasp how could someone like Iseropia flounder so badly, despite clearly making an effort to try and engage with others. However, now, you think you have a pretty good idea on how these interactions went, where they flopped, despite what Olivine was describing as Iseropia trying to interact with others, particularly with men. and you think you know where she went wrong. Because, based on what you have seen of her appearance as a mortal, and what Olivine described of her during her encounters, Iseropia is quite fashionable. Suspiciously so, now that you actually think about it. Naturally, one might ask, where did she find the time to become so keen on these sorts of things? However, you know that this is the wrong question. The real question? Just how much time exactly did Iseropia spend doing this research? Days? Weeks? Months? You almost have to fight back the urge to laugh at the absurdity of the idea of someone putting in this degree of effort into researching fashion trends, clothing, and cultural insights. Art and cultural insights. Of course, not even the most trendy of fashionistas would put that much work into something like this. However, there's just one problem with that conclusion. This hypothetical trendy fashionista is a normal person, something Iseropia is very much not. Which brings you to the crux of Iseropia's problem. She tried too hard. You can only begin to imagine how someone like Iseropia must have attempted to approach these social experiences as mission objectives. Because make no mistake, to this woman, this simple act of researching fashion researching fashion trends, what is popular, what men prefer, and so on and so forth, was a mission. Because that is all she knows. You can almost picture what her flat must have looked like during any given evening. Your mind almost wants to picture a delusional conspiracy theorist trying to get to the bottom of something they are absolutely convinced must be true. They're just missing one big lead. They need to prove it. However, Iseropia is a professional, so she would have put that conspiracy theorist data to shame with her neatly constructed charts, graphs, probability predictions, and projected avenues of most likely success, and so on. You bet she even practiced numbers of times different subjects that might come up, and what to do or say based on what the other speaker says or does. Which probably would work if you were a normal person, though in reality Iseropia's preparations probably just made her come off as extremely weird, extremely desperate, or a literal psychopath. Suffice to say, you being a warm-blooded Himangian human male, you would probably think something along the lines of, there's something wrong with this woman. Especially considering that she's a half-elf, as nothing raises red flags faster than a desperate elf. Hello, Frieden. Because they have a half dozen or more human lifetimes ahead of them. So, what's the rush, lady? Yeah, if you were none the wiser as to who she was, you'd have seen a minefield of red flags and then politely found the next best opportunity to take your leave. Which, now that you think about it, isn't that sort of what Olivine was describing? Although you'd wager she may have misread these situations. After all, it's not like she's an expert on the subject matter either. Which, now that you think about it, would perplex Olivine, wouldn't it? Hell, the woman even laughed when she said that Iseropia makes no damned sense. If she only knew the half of it. However, you're starting to get that. And it's a pretty clear picture, actually. Hells, you can only imagine Iseropia's confusion and possibly even frustration that despite her very best efforts, she cannot get a man to take her seriously. Or they took her a little too seriously, which would explain why she actually mentioned how she tried to keep some people from getting too close. You imagine that this almost cartoonish scene playing out of some really creepy guy thinking Iseropia is an easy target, only to find out just how capable of defending herself she really is. Regardless, mission failure. No wonder Isuropi has no self-esteem. Her well-prepared and executed plans failed spectacularly for the past few years. I fucking died laughing reading that for the first time.
Like, welcome to Ethiopia. She's something.
He's a derp.
It's like, keep in mind that this was Harmonia, or the origin thereof. So the derp is there. It's just a different flavor.
Yeah, it's a different flavor of derp.
Alright, let's see here. Okay, I think the next is your actual response, I believe.
Let's see. Where is number 3? Yes, it's number 3. Yeah, this is my actual response, I think.
Yep.
Which isn't too long. As Isuropia's explanation of memories, sense of self, and lucky days, or at reset. At Isuropia's explanations of memories, sense of self, and lucky days, Quinn hums. Then, after a while, his expression turns from pensive to a mix of confusion, disbelief, and holding back laughter. He tries to hold it back, but can't, as he bursts into chuckles and outright laughs as he looks straight at Isuropia. After a bit, he manages to collect himself enough to at least speak. Well, that box is even more ancient than I thought. You live and you learn, I guess. But good grief, Isuropia. You try too hard. After a few more fits of laughter, Quinn finally calms down enough to form coherent sentences. Oh, dear me. Apologies for that. I just think I figured out why you simply are this bad at anything but military strategy. That's because you never learned anything else. Considering everything, in life you were likely raised to learn military strategy, to become a human computer, more or less. It's just been that long that you've no idea whether that actually is the case or not. Still, if I'm right, you likely never learned to socialize because you didn't need to. You weren't allowed to, even. You learned everything on a single subject, and I even had proof of this. He then moves his appointed palm down to signify Isuropia's form. You. He sighs before pocketing his hands. You're so stylish. Look at yourself. You flounder conversations are overtly anxious whether everything goes according to plan and you're afraid of deviations. Is that not just your brain on overdrive because you have an idea on how things are supposed to go? Or at least how you think they're meant to go? If I were to guess, you're flying amongst a sorry sight, full of plans because that's all you know. It's your comfort zone. You know nothing else. So you default to what you do know. Strategy and planning, and the style of military.
Okay, I think the next one, Dan.
You watch her closely as she muses on her lack of memory, or even understanding why she doesn't know. And suffice to say, you're fairly certain that she genuinely does not know. Which makes your earlier deduction appear to be what has happened. Isuropia awoke as herself, as in her actual self, the one that she apparently put on a shelf for over a dozen quadrillion years. She mentioned that she was not a chronomancer for a great deal of time, but when you take that into consideration and how Isuropia very likely kept herself busy, so she wouldn't have to think about her past, it all kind of lines up. You imagine her waking up would be something along the lines of suddenly realizing that you don't know who you are, where you are, or even what you are. As none of these things were from the time when you went to sleep. So you think back on your memories of your life prior to now, to try and rationalize what happened using your own memories first and foremost, only to be met with a filing cabinet of several unlisted and almost all very much empty folders, or so greatly redacted that you cannot make heads or tails of them. You know those folders had contents before, and you used to know what was in the redacted documents that are there. Your intuition wouldn't have told you to look there first, if they never contained anything, and if you did not once know what was in them. Which means the contents of them are simply no longer there, or have been almost entirely forgotten over the lengthy period of time before becoming a chronomancer. So Iseropia would then have to look to her previous self's memories, as that would have literally been all she had to go off of, which was her time as Harmonia, and her time as her mentor before that, however that story goes. Regardless, she would have to then use someone else's memories to rationalize what happened to her, which she would have very quickly found, and just as quickly provided an explanation for what happened. Because you have none of your former memories, as it has been far too long since you last recalled them. And the only thing you do have to go off is the words of another. Granted, it's still you, technically, it's just your former self. However, that does not change the fact that your former self is still not you. In other words, you don't know anything other than what you can perceive with your own senses and whatever is found in someone else's memories. That's a pretty shitty situation to be in, honestly. Now stack on top of that the fact that she was very clearly trained to become a human computing device of military strategy. So that is how she would see and assess everything. In other words, Iseropia had to figure out how to person and fast. Because her 14-year-old, newly magical girl self most certainly did not know how. Though as the saying goes, life comes at you fast. Frankly, you are more than a little impressed that she didn't just crumble and break under the weight of an entire lifetime of responsibility being dropped on her.
Remember the temper tantrum that Tariq found her in.
Yep, it's not even
coping.
It's not even a lifetime. It's fucking quadrillion years.
Isero just wakes up like, ah!
What is this?
Like, I hate you, Harmonia. Why did you do this?
Yeah. How dare you do this to me? Fucking hell. While it may have been more than a little janky, somehow Iseropia managed to keep herself together and to pick up this role that she now found herself in, which was just dropped on her by herself. Frankly, this is the smoking gun that she was an officer in the making kid, being raised to be a weapon of war. Because if she hadn't, there is no way a 14-year-old kid with no memories of their own could have not only not cracked to pieces under this degree of pressure, but to come out on the other side relatively unscathed. That takes intense mental conditioning and training while operating under extreme pressure. In short, military training. You are absolutely certain that your dystopian future theory of Iseropia's origins is about as close as you're going to get without actually knowing what happened.
Yeah, at this point, Quinn's got her origin figured out. It's just like, yeah, I know exactly what you are. Like, as close as I'm gonna get without literally knowing what happened, this is what you are. Alright. Yay, I gotta just relax for a bit before I read 7,000 bricks of text.
Which one is next?
Actual 4. Iseropia, understandably, gives you a rather pointed glare at the very sudden and abrupt cracking up into laughter shortly after her finishing, though appears to patiently wait for your explanation and said outburst. However, even in the low light of the moon, it's not difficult to see that along with the glare that she is casting you, her face is very clearly holds a rather profuse blush, likely of embarrassment given the context. Although, as you explain your reasoning and your theory that you all are but certain is correct at this point, Eurovia dons a rather conflicted look, remaining silent even after you finish after a good several seconds, before eventually it speaks up in a soft tone. Can I trust you, Quinn? Oh, let's see.
And this one is the one that immediately follows, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. My check.
Yep.
It's inside. It is pretty clear that Isropia cannot tell if you're being serious or not, or even if you're telling her the truth or not. Though, interestingly, rather than dismiss your comments or even question them, she's instead questioning you, yourself. Considering what Isropia said last night about how she doesn't let people get too close to her regarding personal matters, I think it echoes through your speaker, Yami.
How is it doing that?
Good question.
I don't know. Continuing what Isropia said last night about how she doesn't let people get too close to her regarding personal matters, it's a given that she doesn't trust most people when it comes to such things. Because one thing you picked up on about Isropia fairly early on is that she's a very independent person. Not the kind who never asks for help, but more so the kind that only asks for help when she genuinely believes she needs it. Though that is in regards to work matters. Personal affairs, however? Judging by her reaction now and last night, she's very easily embarrassed when confronted with these shortcomings. So it's kind of a no-brainer that, with how little self-esteem she has, how much she has failed thus far, and just how capable she is in other matters, you'd wager she doesn't ask help from anyone for anything when it pertains to personal affairs, as she's both too embarrassed and in all likelihood too ashamed of herself to open up to anyone about it. So this is different, very different. Because while she cannot tell if you're being serious or telling the truth, she is keenly aware that you just fired a shot that hit far closer to home than she was even remotely expecting. Yet, instead of taking a step back, like most people would when confronted with someone having some dangerously close, like most people would when confronted with someone having come so dangerously close to learning something they're ashamed of, this woman's actually taking a step forward.
Well,
the fact that she's asking if she can trust you, while a seemingly minor and simple question on the surface, is actually a very big step for Isropia, which is made all too clear by the anxious look she's holding, and her body language that just oozes trepidation, though it's very well masked. However, the woman isn't putting up a brave front while taking this step forward, as there are no pretenses to be found here. Only raw determination and sheer force of will is pushing her forward. Had you not come to a number of realizations about her just now, this degree of significance of this question would have easily been lost on you. However, it's not. Because you know precisely how big a deal this seemingly simple question is.
Yeah, where it's like, okay, like everything's bad, but like, you know, these results. Oh look, he actually managed to not like have her just run off.
Yep.
Because the math said no. But we all know that the math don't matter around here.
Math doesn't apply to me. I renounce math.
Alright,
Welcome
see.
to the club.
And Matches 5 cannot be loaded.
Next is just below, which is Quinn's short response, I believe. Yeah, it just continues below that. Quinn waits in Iseropia's silence. The logic bullet landed. If not in the bullseye, then pretty damned close. He raises an eyebrow as Iseropia then finally speaks. Then he responds, shrugging. Well, that depends and varies. If we're talking outside of work, I've been told and trustworthy by several of the heroes, as well as folks that back home on several fronts, so objectively yes, and in this case subjectively yes. What are you thinking?
Iseropia's demeanor shifts a bit at your answer. And she looks after if she's about... It looks as if she's about to say something. A few times, actually. However, after a handful of seemingly failed attempts, she just lets out a defeated sigh before shaking her head. Never mind, it's not important. Let's just get back, as we have a lot to do to get ready. With that, she then turns and heads back towards camp.
My immediate response to this. Fuck!
It's like... Fuck, what did she roll here?
I think she rolled insanely, low.
I think it's... I can't find it here, but I'm pretty sure she rolled, literally, a natural 1 and, something high. Literally went from, one of the best results to one of the worst results. No, it was the worst result.
Jeez.
Oh, let me find this date real quick. 9/10. Because I don't know this. I'm pretty sure this was the worst result one. Is I was just really? This really just happened? So this first one was a 17 and a 7. The next roll,
weird.
A 1 and a 78.
Oh my god.
Well, actually, technically, it was worse than that, but... Hey, look at this. This is funny. I was like, did this really just happen? Here, let me find the do-do-do-do-do. Where are you, server? That.
Let's see.
That was the insight. The first one, what she said, then that.
Let's see. Total 24. Oh yeah, because she
That was the insight. And then what did Iseropia do? That was her asking, can I trust you? Look what happened next.
Fucking 1 and 17.
Almost the second worst response. The modifier saved it from that.
Yeah, it did, because it bumped it below 80.
She would have just, teleported away. Used her, magic to just fucking yeet herself out of there.
Hey, at least she
She'd be
didn't
like,
murder you and share
abortion.
embarrassment.
At least.
Yeah, you wouldn't have caught her if that was, a few points higher.
Don't worry, I can dodge air.
No. It's not that you can dodge air. You can't catch her. If she wants to leave, she can leave.
Yeah, she can leave
She's
immediately.
fast.
Oh my fucking god, that is
Yeah, she
amazing.
would have been but
I'm
no,
not saying
the
here-
modifier was like, well, you have a chance to catch her, but you're gonna have to try. That's why you had to use an inspiration dump, because that's exactly what she did. She's just like, nope.
Oh my fucking god.
I'm just like, yeah, an awesome, second best to almost second worst, if not for the modifier. Literally complete reversal. I'm just like, Isoropi, you're bipolar showing. But yeah, it's just like, well, this is fucking narratively fucking appropriate. That's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah, she literally got an anxiety attack.
Pretty much, yeah. She took a step forward and then just went to take the other step, and she's like, no, well, this ain't worth it. You know, there's nothing will come of this.
Oh my dear God.
What's the worst that could possibly happen? Rhetorical.
Well, she wasn't about to find out, so she decided, well, let's just go.
I'm like, that before you answer, that was rhetorical.
Well, Queen's technically already died once tonight. Like,
Yep.
in this timeline. Because of a fucking book invading. What's the next thing? This one. Oh, yeah.
I think the next one.
This.
Alright, I got these ones. These are these are fun. Go on.
I was just like laughing at this. I'm like, this is D&D, is what I was thinking here.
Like this inside check, I didn't even need to like write it. I just remember said to you like, "Hey, do this," because I was in Discord with you at these ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So essentially, next is Lady Seropa. After I'm like, "Yeah, she's gone. She will be gone."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's why she's like.
Yeah, she just started accelerating like a fucking drag racer.
Which is why that one image you posted around there is pretty accurate.
Yeah, I think it's a bit later.
That's a bit later.
Look, wait, Isoropi. He turns to her as she starts to head towards camp. It's clearly not important. Or it's clearly not important. Plus your body language is a disheveled mess. I don't know precisely how close the bullet I fired hit, but you can trust me. You sure it's not important? Because that's a freaking lie. I can either wait for when it is important, or listen to it now. Both work.
Like roll persuasion.
Yeah, and this roll too. I rolled so good on the natural. And then fucking 1 on the proficiency die.
It's like, this is a charisma roll, so that is what it is.
You need to get a feature for that.
Like I said, see, this is why I said the dice tell a story. Was that roll I just showed you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Finn, I need to put your ass on. I'm getting hot.
She decided to be brave and then got cold feet. She took a board. My feet are cold. I think I'm gonna go back to my tent.
Ethiopia, do I need to take your feet to the Hellfire?
She's like, ooh, toasty.
Oh yeah, so, and I believe the next one is that little check down there. I think there's like those 2 little checks. And that's why I said, this might take more than just words.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's those 2 little checks and then your response down there. Because she doesn't say anything. She just starts moving faster.
Yeah, she just starts walking, yeah.
But anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so hunch check.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that after you said that, Isoropi is no longer simply decided to not talk about it. She's running away from it. The reason's fairly simple. Too much new for her, and she feels as if she'd either only burden you with her troubles, or she thinks you're just putting on airs, or she's in denial. Hard to say which, honestly. Though you do know one thing. Letting her walk away after she just took a step forward would only be her taking 2 steps backwards. Therefore, seeing that she's currently in the process of retreating, how does one stop another from retreating from a battle? I don't know. Panzerkampf?
There are many
You shoot them in the back.
Shoot their kneecaps out.
Essentially, prevent them from running away.
Yep.
It's like
The next one's Quinn's response.
Yeah.
just shoot him in the Achilles tendon. That'll slow them down real quick. Oh
Good
God,
job.
can you
Good
imagine
luck
the
with
boy?
aiming that though.
I don't want to think about that. I thought about that for like a fraction of a second. I was like, ugh. Anyways, go on.
You get a bullet in the Achilles tendon, your ass is on the fucking ground.
Yep. You lose control of your feet completely.
As is your foot.
Yep.
As Isropia picks up her pace, Quinn lets out a silent sigh. Why is it always the potatoes? At least the other one didn't run away per se, but almost instantly killed me in an adrenaline rush.
Yeah, it's like one tries to kill you, this one tries to run away. Two very different approaches of handling what do.
Two very different potatoes.
We got a third approach from one of the potatoes. Abort mission.
Yeah, we have abort mission and we have mission failure.
Yeah, abort mission failure.
Both are equally as amazing.
Abort mission. Drinks enough shot or whatever to pass the fuck out instead.
Mission
she
failure.
took like a fucking a shot of ale and she passed out. But he then takes a couple.
That hit the truck.
Yep. He then takes a couple steps.
What do you think Val's whiskey would do to Cat?
She'd sniff it and pass out.
I don't want to fucking think about it.
Literally, probably she would sniff it and just like go into a small coma and just like wake up like 10 seconds later, like, huh? What happened?
You sniffed my drink and we're out like a light.
You know that isn't
Here,
too
have
far
a
off.
go.
Because, that isn't too far off because she identifies stuff by actually smelling them.
Yep.
So what we learned is
She smells everything before she drinks it.
what we learned is Cat is actually a dog.
Imposter.
Imposter. She's sus. Alright, anyways, so God.
He then takes a couple steps in Isoropi's direction before he misty steps right next to her and puts a hand on her shoulder, halting her retreat. And they teach you back in Kibohana that taking 2 steps back after having strode forward is the most ridiculous act ever. Don't take steps back, it's just falling into bad habits or comfort nets.
Like, make a strength check. And you're like debating, like, oh, you know, how much should I use? And I'm just like, bitch, use everything because she is.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't need me to really roll to figure this out. And I'm just like, alright, well, here's some rolls. And you're just like, you know, I got this and that. I'm just sitting here just with a smile, like, if you don't dump everything, she's getting away.
Yeah.
You're like, I have 4. You're like, I probably need 3. I'm like, no, you need 4. I can't tell you that. I want to tell you that, but well, we'll just see what happens. And you're like, I'll use 4. I'm just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, the reason
Situations you normally need to dump 4 inspiration at something. You're literally using the bonus one that you guys earned.
Normally it's a fucking critical thing. This is just trying to fucking hold a potato in place.
Wait, when did we earn a bonus one? I don't remember this.
From
succeeding the trial. Well, you technically could have succeeded the trial without beating the Leviathan, but technically that's because you beat the Leviathan.
Yeah.
I don't think I said. Now I have to check to make sure I actually said it, so I actually have a max of 4 inspiration because of that. Oh,
no, 4 bead. 4 bead.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Sakura might have soloed what was left of him, but you guys might have still succeeded.
She soloed what was left of him. She became Asian.
She's like, well, my party's dead. Time to solo this.
I mean,
well, you think about it, she doesn't have to think about anyone other than herself. Yep. And she's stupid strong with space powers versus a big, clunky creature. It might be a little easier than you think.
I mean, the rest of us weren't dead yet when the Leviathan showed.
No, I'm just saying, like, essentially, if you guys lost, like, essentially, if you got 50%, she would have finished them off. Anything below that was just, gravy. And other, like, little things to add in. Little stuff that you guys get. But yeah, you actually beat them. I was just like, I'm pretty sure they're not going to beat this encounter, but hey, we'll see. It came fucking close. You guys used everything.
And then I accidentally big brain into, wait a minute, Aether, call lightning here, or whatever.
Which is pretty damn funny, because I'm just like, if anybody uses control anything out here, it's gonna be funny.
We have roll a d20.
Like, if one of you guys would have cast, like, the what is that? The control water spell, you would have become a fucking water vendor.
I was like, hey, wait a minute. With Call Lightning, I can do this. Oh shit! Afterwards, I can also control the fucking storm.
Yeah, so it was like shooting the big fucking, the explodey, flashy balls. Yeah, you're shooting that at him.
Yeah, I'm sure it felt great to that Leviathan.
No, it was funny.
Before Quinn even finishes, Iseropia pushes forward, trying to increase her pace from a brisk walk to a solid run. Seeing as that isn't working, she reaches up to her left shoulder with both her hands, trying to pry the relatively loose vice, keeping her grounded off of her. However, as that happens, the spy almost instinctively reacts. It's like, oh god. Iseropia's right wrist is quickly grabbed with Quinn's other hand, while the top of her palms being pressed down and backward into a two-hand control hold of the wrist. Careful not to cause any ligament injuries, Quinn now carefully turns the seized palm to her to the right, leaning his left leg behind Iseropia's, who's now trying to move her own center of balance backwards, flailing with her free arm. However, that's too late, and working, in fact, against her, as this shifts her balance even further back, right into where Quinn's leg is neatly pushing in the opposite direction. With her legs having now lost contact with the ground, Quinn releases the palm hold, yanking on her wrist, into the direction of her, to be short, relatively short flight, right onto a nice patch of grass, next to the road the two were walking on, but mere seconds ago. With a few rolls over the dewy grass, Iseropia rolls over before managing to stop her momentum, as Quinn sighs through an exhale. Seriously, was it always me who ends up chasing socially awkward assassins or military personnel through the weirdest scenarios? Have you calmed down now, or do you need another takedown, Iseropia? Actually, I think I might just put you in cuffs if you try something like that again. That counter-grapple attempt was clean by the books, but it had no actual experience behind it. Good hustle. Or good hustle. Quinn's like, what the fuck are you? And why is it always me? Suffice to say, if you had any doubts about your theory with Iseropia's origins before, this little takedown here quickly evaporated them. Because her movements were too clean, too practiced, hell, almost mechanical even. Fucking instant Catherine PTSD. he went into a fucking fight.
I've been forged in the fires of Silverleaf Castle. This is nothing.
He literally went into a fight or flight mode there. Out of sheer panic. Waiting like a fucking C4 or something to be pulled out of a pocket. You're pretty sure Magical Girl Boot Camp doesn't teach you those movements. That would be hilarious if it did. That is the result of refined training, in escaping in particular. However, in a game of technique versus technique, you found it would be an almost alarming match to your own. Considering you're a specialist, that says a lot. So, it boiled down to a contest of strength, where you found that she's every bit as strong as you are, if not a little stronger. However, she was still much, much lighter than you, and her frame is also smaller, which allowed you a bit of leverage to break that. To break. What?
Break what was very quickly.
Okay. To break what was very quickly about to become a test of endurance. I didn't read the next line, so I was like, huh? You think that you understand what Isoropia meant about her and Oriana's mortal body as being perfectly normal, albeit with high potential. Which is to say, she's ridiculously strong, nimble, and hardy. Not quite at peak mortal condition by any means, but certainly up there. Regardless, this is all the evidence you need to try hone the point of where exactly did a 14-year-old learn to escape a grapple like that? Because, based on the context of how a sense of self works, it operates on its own intuition, instincts, and inclinations. Meaning that, since her training was literally less than a year ago, probably a few months at very most relative to her sense of self's perspective, it is all still very fresh with her right now, as that technique was almost flawless, but lacked experience needed to adapt. If her flat back in South Himang wasn't the smoking gun of her origins already, then this little contest certainly was.
Alright, Utopia.
Yeah, it's literally the next block down.
Isoropia is both still and silent as she lays sprawled out on her back in the grass. Several seconds after you finish, she does eventually speak up, in an almost distant tone. Why did that feel so familiar, perhaps nostalgic even? Yet I'm fairly certain I don't have any memories of being tossed around like this. It feels like I have, as it wasn't unfamiliar. She pauses for a few moments before continuing. Then there was myself. When you grabbed me to stop, I just reacted. Not unlike a time or two or three back in Huimang. 2. Though I didn't think about it too much back then. I was mostly just taken aback at what the people were trying to do to me at the time. However, this is different. My reaction to what was happening wasn't good enough this time, which is hard to ignore, as I have no idea where I learned to move like this, and I saw nothing of the story of it in my memories as Harmonia or Sunshine. Moon lets out a sudden laugh. I figured how I conducted my research and planning was nothing out of the ordinary, as that's just simply what I was, while masquerading as the other two as well. Though, I never did think to ask myself, just where did I learn these skills to begin with? Because in hindsight, I shouldn't have them now if there were something I picked up after becoming a magical girl, because I do have them, which means my acquiring them must predate my becoming a magical girl. Isoropia trails off, bringing a hand to her forehead as she cracks up a small fit of laughter, while at the same time her eyes quickly begin to tear up. It was right there in front of me this whole fucking time, wasn't it? I just couldn't see it, because I couldn't remember it. She turns her head to look up at you. Meaning, you really were being serious earlier, and you were telling the truth too, weren't you? The witch pauses as a rather profuse blush adorns her face. I can see why you might have found what I said before funny, given that I apparently was and had forgotten. Though I suppose I owe you a bit of truth as well, then. Isoropia then practically beams a smile as she actually starts to cry a bit. Because the truth is, I actually do technically have a name, which is Isla, and it still doesn't feel right, no matter how many times I say it. However, as far back as even my oldest memories go, my mentor Sunshine called me that from time to time. My memories showed that I never once questioned it or even doubted it once back then. Either. How Sunshine. Now that girl was a character. She stops to rub one of her eyes and compose herself a bit, eventually continuing. Sunshine is truly one of a kind. Not only was she an elven magical girl, something that is so rare that it's almost unheard of, but she was also an organic farseer, chronomancer, and even a truthsayer, from long before I ever met her, no less. So, I wouldn't doubt it if she called me Isla in my memories. Hell, she even very recently called me Isla too. She softly shakes her head. However, the me now, the actual me, despite all evidence literally suggesting otherwise, deep down I somehow feel that Isla isn't my given name, meaning that it was given to me, yes, albeit sometime after I had put me to sleep, with the intent to never use me again. Which lets out a laugh, seemingly in spite of herself. In hindsight, it's pretty obvious that Sunshine must have given me the name Isla for one reason or another. Though why? Despite it feeling somehow wrong, I cannot think of a name that actually feels right. Suiri falls silent for several seconds before continuing in a small voice. Did I just not have one then? But what kind of a kid doesn't even have a name at 14 years of age? She pauses for a moment, to continue in a somewhat pensive tone. Actually, then again, what kind of 14-year-old kids can even do a fraction of what I appear to be able to do, and without even thinking about most of it? The woman takes a deep breath before slowly exhaling. Regardless, I never once did consider that Isla is what my real name is now, and that I never had a name before that. She trails off briefly for crossing her arms over her chest. Then it wouldn't have been a lie for Sunshine to say that is what my name is, or even was, as both would be perfectly true. Suiri shakes her head with a smile again. I swear that bratty elf. There were several reasons why we all looked up to her, and why we all saw her as our leader, despite her technically being the same rank as us. It was hard not to, given how different she was. She was just very special, and most of all, she was untouchable. No godly being would ever hope to mental gymnastics their way into justifying the elimination of a truthsayer, especially when they were just doing their job as written. She paused for a moment before smiling. And despite her already being an unprecedented Farseer Chronomancer magical elf girl, she was still envious of my chief magical girl position, as I had become what she had strove for who knows how long, honestly, and by complete accident, no less, because I had no idea what I was doing at the time would even do to me, let alone make me an entirely different being. A look of realization then slowly dawns on her as she continues. Oh yeah, I wasn't supposed to tell anyone in the cosmos about what Sunshine was before she became what she is now, was I? Oops, I guess. Suiri then points at you candidly. You never heard that, but then again, I guess that's really not an important detail anymore now that she's freed her physical essence. After a few moments, she just throws up her arms before letting them fall back, stretched out on the ground past her head. Speaking of Sunshine and being free, I must have been such a hassle for her back then, because right now, I have the benefit of hindsight, age, and countless memories of my masquerading as Harmonian Sunshine. Back then, before all of that, I would have had only whatever is now forgotten, which, in hindsight, might just be why I went on my way to put this sense of self away. I probably had far too many bad memories, trauma, and who knows what else, as a result of whatever dystopian novel lifestyle I was leading, before I was recruited as a magical girl. She paused for a few more moments, her crossed her arms over her chest again, albeit with a difficult expression. Why was I recruited to begin with? The magical girl who recruited me is still somewhere in eternity, last time I checked, which was a long time ago, actually. Regardless, I knew to get a chance. I never got a chance to ask her why she recruited me of all people, but what am I even saying? Does that really even matter right now? Hell, none of this does. And let's add another sigh before returning your attention to you. There I go again. However, I cannot help but feel like I'm just wasting everyone's time whenever I talk about myself. Because at the end of the day, details about me, they just don't really matter to anyone else. Only what I can do in whatever role I have, especially now as Witch Supreme. She lets out a sudden laugh. Hells, I'm so far above everyone in this cosmos that my existence is effectively inconsequential here. The witches I went so far out of my way to create don't even really need me. I don't even need myself yet, which is the only reason why I'm even here right now. My role as Overgod is just a glorified paper pusher to stamp things for Anaclisi. Not that I mind you, as I rather like Anaclisi, save for the fact that she rewrote my memories of this world and then recently tried to kill me to cover it all up. Though, that aside, Anaclisi's a good person. She's just been tasked with an impossible job. One that she never asked for, and that I technically dropped on her. Syrupa pauses for a moment, letting out another sigh before continuing matter-of-factly. Compared to everything that happened in our world, what could possibly have been gained from hearing me talk about trivial things about myself that didn't even happen in this cosmos, let alone this world? It's just all feels like one big waste of time. Because even now I feel like I'm just wasting your time. There's so much to do and daylight is burning. Yet here I am talking about things that don't even matter, let alone matter right now. She pauses before turning her head to look at you again before gesturing a hand towards the ground around her. Just why are you even listening to me right now, Quinn? Hells, why do you even go this fucking far out of your way to do it? How could what I think or feel possibly be so important as to take precedence over a critical mission for our world? Especially falters a bit as she continues. In fact, why do you seem to care so much about me even to begin with, Quinn? Certainly not for my so-called womanly charms, as appearance aside, the rest are nowhere to be found. Hells, I can't even fucking find them. Well, I suppose I am talkative, but then, is that really a charm? Bitches just don't know when to shut up when they should. With myself being a shining textbook example of that right now. In fact, I think I'm just gonna stop talking now. I would also go back to the kitchen, but my flat is admittedly pretty far away now, and so that sandwich will just have to wait for next time, Quinn. Sylvia pauses a moment for offering a wry smile. That is assuming I'm not assassinated before then for even so much as suggesting such a thing.
That last fucking paragraph is just like, I don't even give a fuck anymore.
She channeled her inner Harmonia.
Yeah.
That's where you know that this is the same person.
Yeah, the habits are there even if the person isn't.
Yeah, because even between Locke and Key, they've been apart for so long. They're completely different people. But when you boil it down at their core, they're still the same person. They have the same, little quirks here and there.
Yeah. Oh my god. Let's see.
So, what can we do?
I admittedly got Fosella PTSD from this. Like when I first unlocked Chatterbox Fosella, I'm like, oh no.
It's Chatterbox Harmonia Edition.
I think it's the next response down, actually. Because from here, it's like,
Yes, like these next two.
Yeah. As
Come
Izuropia
on! Fosella's harmless.
Fuck you.
Well, she's harmless to those when you're like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literal partners in crime.
Yep. Meanwhile, there's a fucking Dragonborn that almost died 4 times to her. For XYZ.
She almost 4 times. It wasn't that bad. She never actually killed you. You gotta hey, you even gotta kill her. You beat the game. Clack guitar and cross the finish line. You killed Priscilla.
And
Let's
also,
go!
It's not partners in crime if what we're doing isn't illegal, technically.
It's partners and mostly not crime, but there's some crime in there weaved in. It's just like fabric that holds the lies together.
Yeah, it's the liner.
It's all technically legal, so it's fine.
Not all of it. Oh. Most of it.
Enough that it's legal enough.
It's legal enough. Yeah, there you go. Anyways, sorry, go on, Vibes.
It is
Pseudo-legality is the best kind of legality.
It is pro 50% legal.
That's devil talk if you've ever seen it. It's legal enough. Anyways, yeah, I can go on.
Where is it? Here we go. As Izuropia comes to the realization that her past really was what Quinn hypothesized, Quinn simply listens and then responds with a hum. You didn't have a name, so you must have been given one. I don't know how military's in the cosmos, but for one, someone at age 14, as you said, shouldn't know half the shit you do, let alone almost execute it.
Oh, you missed like 2 things above it.
I did? No.
Oh, I know, those are for the checks, never mind.
Yeah, I do it. Yeah, I quote it and then I.
Yeah, I just noticed that, like, double checking.
Yeah, I put the description of what I want to check, yeah. That way, the shit doesn't get lost in Gothhead. Let alone almost execute the perfect counter grapple out of pure instinct against a field specialist. You were a machine. He cracks his knuckles before speaking. So, a shorthand answer as to whether I'm honest. I was honest? Yes, I was being honest. It made too much sense to not be what you were in your past. I laughed because I got an image in my head of you, applying whatever skills you might have figured you knew into everyday actions. It was funny, as you might have guessed from my reaction. As Izuropia talks about sunshine, Quinn lets out a little laugh. She seems like a perfect foil to me, honestly. Something a 14-year-old girl would look up to and help you understand. Also, seems like a bloody huge deal with all those cosmic stations and accolades. Since you took what was hers on pure accident, and she's still in good terms with you, I can't see how things could have turned out better for you. At least up to the point of losing her. As for hearing anything about any sunshines, I never heard anything. I don't know what you're talking about. He then cleared his throat. Anyhow, if your life was truly as dystopian, and you were raised as a military strategist from an excessively young age, it only makes sense that's exactly why you were recruited. You knew nothing else, and you were just that good. Skills translate over, you know. They still will once the cosmos catches up. You just sped up so far ahead that you're sitting on your hands right now. That's also why I primarily suggested you reincarnate as a mortal, but having this context... He walks up to Izuropia and gives her a light tap to her ribs with his boot. You might want to try and sort out what kind of person you can make out of Izuropia. Considering you call what you dropped on Ecclesi an impossible job, I'd say she's hanging in there. You ought to too. Mortals are pretty simple creatures, but they're also complex in their simplicity. That's why I both love and hate what I do. Most of the time it's fun, some others not so much, like the day ahead of us. You ask why I'm listening to you right now. Because whatever the hell you're saying doesn't matter. That it's not relevant compared to whatever critical mission we're about to undertake. That's the thing. You could have just shut up and not told me jack yet you did. You ought to ponder why. I listen and try to understand because I do what with everyone who's relevant to me, and I tend to find either interesting, pivotal, or troubled. You turned out to be a little gremlin doing her absolute best, trying to adapt, and adapt she did. She adapted to the point that she actually tries too hard. Well, guess what? Too bad. You're gonna have to try again. You did good, yet you undersell yourself way too much. That should be the first lesson I'd undertake if I were you. Learn to appreciate yourself. No? Well, I'd say stop trying quite so much, and start from smaller steps. There's more to it than that, but that's trial and error. It's a learned behavior. It's abundantly clear that not only did Isoropia have no idea whether or not you were being serious or truthful to her, but she also But that she was also completely oblivious to the nature of her origins. So much so that she's getting emotional over it. Because you could have provided her with tangible... You could have provided... What?
Because you have.
Oh, the could jumped a line. Because you have provided her with tangible answers she has been searching for. Ever since she woke up like this, and for good, but could never seem to find no matter how hard she tried. Her becoming emotional is very clearly a result of her coming to realize just how perfectly the missing pieces you just gave her fit into the puzzle that is herself, and just who she really is. Or to be more precise, who she used to be. You are certain that she feels very appreciative, if not grateful, for what you have given her. Even if it is news that are a bit hard for her to take. Though she's accepting it all the same, as she now knows you're being perfectly honest with her, and that these are the conclusions that you have drawn and are sharing with her. And more insight checks. You can only assume that this was not to tip off anyone in eternity that helped perpetuate the tyranny, pertaining to Sunshine, that helped perpetuate the tyranny in her cosmos, who would now have been looking for her. Due to how unique Sunshine was, it would be pretty obvious to anyone, god, mortal or otherwise, who was being talked about. So avoiding talking about what Sunshine was, as so that ghosts from her past could potentially deduce the Sunshine Girl in Cosmos 13, is actually the very same one from Cosmos 9 that we've been looking for, seeing as Isoropia masqueraded as Sunshine for a very, very long time.
Yeah, because when Cosmos 9 was reset, she was Sunshine. So they were looking in eternity for Sunshine.
Yep, wrong place.
And that's why she's like, well, I'll go back to being me now.
Because Sunshine would have been who these people were looking for, not Isoropia. Though, little did they know, for the past long while, these two people were one and the same, due to the real Sunshine having clearly been imprisoned by Isoropia herself, for one reason or another. You cannot imagine it was for anything less than something critically important. Which would explain why she masqueraded as Sunshine, and for as long as she did. Sunshine was too important to not be there. Logically speaking, this means that back in Cosmos 9, Isoropia had to have been masquerading as a Sunshine, while her avatar, Harmonia, was masqueraded as herself. Which would mean that when Isoropia said she created Harmonia as an ideal self, she was very, very literal. She literally made her avatar into herself, albeit an ideal version of herself. With that thought in mind, it kind of goes without saying that Isoropia would be very lost right now as to who she really is. It's because who she really is was too far back in her memories. Which is precisely why she couldn't find her answers. Because you cannot find what simply no longer exists. Her becoming emotional just now was clearly her coming to this realization.
Yeah, that
And
who
then-
she is no longer exists.
Yep, that is gone. And then on
She
the
is
last
a
bit-
phantasm of a person that once was.
Yep, we have encountered a few of those. In Rain. You're admittedly a bit surprised at the sheer audacity of what she said in that last bit, because you are very slowly starting to realize how Isoropia is as a person, and what she means behind what she says, as it's kind of a mixed bag of very literal, dry wit, and sarcasm depending on the context. Which would mean that was Isoropia being cheeky with her suggesting that maybe the reason why you care so much about... Why you care so much about... What? Oh, why you care so much about her is because you're interested in her as a woman. Yet, she could not possibly understand why you would be, hence her being cheeky about it. And if that is indeed the case, that was her flirting with you, wasn't it? Albeit in her own unique, calculating way. Along with the implication of, let's spend some time together when we aren't busy. Yeah, good luck trying to find fucking time like that.
You will... Yeah.
So the last one...
Relatively not busy.
Relative free time, exactly. So the last line would actually be, assuming Catherine doesn't kill me before then for suggesting that we get to better know each other, as if to imply that she's very aware of the fact that she's encroaching on Catherine's territory by her suggesting this, but doesn't fucking care that she is either. Because masked behind that cheek was Isoropia expressing that she has a growing interest in you. Which would mean that this is yet another big step forward for Isoropia, more like a fucking leap. Although, that doesn't change the fact that Isoropia is very much aware that she would be going to war with Catherine, should she continue down this road. However, the fact that she has suggested getting better to know each other at all shows that this woman's undeterred by this fact, as she's just going for it. Which is about as far removed from Isoropia's usual methodology as she could possibly get. However, this woman is fresh out of fucks to give at this point. And is clearly not afraid. They simply let the chips fall where they may either. How'd that saying go again? All's fair in love and war? Kinda fucking ironic, given what she was. Quinn takes a couple steps back from Isoropia before he continues. I believe I told you that once before. What? What the fuck? I believe I told you that once before earlier tonight. In fact,
Earlier last night.
yeah. Yeah, you've broken that logical step already. You're moving in strides. You likely know a lot more about me than I'd even care to fucking admit. You looked into me, didn't you? You researched me, just like you'd research any other person or field of study or subject. Whether you were curious, angry, frustrated, or just spiteful, thinking, why is the Coven called to grant a wish of this stupid guy? Frankly, I don't care. My dealings and morals are largely the same with the prime material, and they apply to everyone all the same. He looks at her with a cheeky grin, before giving a couple more boot taps to her side. So, what'd you find out then, huh? What of me did you see? You cosmic types tend to do your research thoroughly, do the type of stuff that you usually need to be knowledgeable and wary of. And this isn't just any cosmic entity. No, this is the military strategist Isoropia. I don't believe for a blooming second that you just took a quick peek. Due to what and who I am, having random strangers look into my soul and mind feels a bit off, wouldn't it? Then again, perhaps that's just my feeble mortal existence talking. I've just gotten used to it. Well, it is as they say. Try not to get assassinated. Strategize. That's what you do best. Having yourself gossiped off is normal, but not nice. Welcome to war, I suppose, then.
As I wrote this, I'm just like, if you only knew how wrong you were.
Meanwhile, I'm just reminded that any kind of competition with Catherine is bound to end badly.
You have two people with logical extreme.
Yep. But Quinn's like, but you're forgetting.
Quinn's gonna be facing a new hurdle, a complete one. How do I defeat this individual without killing them?
Oh my
Because
god.
it's like she'd imagine like 50 scenarios of how I can just make her disappear.
Okay, where's
Never
my...
know what happened to her. Where did she go?
Invite
Where's my
Catherine
human-
to game night.
Where's my human-sized fucking... Where's my human-sized acid vat?
It's like, yeah, just fucking Iuchi just disappears one day. Where'd she go?
It's quite curious.
Iuchi just
Like,
comes
she went
back.
to go to the store and she never came back.
Yeah.
Inside
it's
check.
like she was going to go get some milk, and I haven't seen her since.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it's gonna be very interesting to see how this goes.
We need to see more everyday interaction with Catherine. Is like the most ridiculous nonsense in mundane settings.
Like,
Invite her to
It's
game
like,
night.
don't
All
try
the
to understand women. Women understand women, and they fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
No, women don't understand women and they fucking hate each other.
No, they do. They understand each other perfectly.
Some
That's
don't.
why they hate each other.
They overthink a fuck ton.
Exactly. They know that they're overthinking and that person's overthinking, and they gotta think ahead.
Oh my god.
And it's like the war of overthinking and this stuff.
And I'm here like, this does not compute. That this is all entirely illogical.
Okay, now I need to go back.
No, isn't it just the next thing?
I'm pretty sure there was something I wrote in between. Oh yeah, here, it's these two texts. The ones that I was pointing out earlier.
Which
Like
ones?
directly
Hold on.
above response continual. The two little ones.
Oh, these ones, right.
Yeah. Those happen next. Then down there.
Okay. On either a hunch, or once you finish, on either a hunch or simple curiosity, you close your eyes for a moment and focus to see if you can sense any observers through your spatial awareness, where you find nothing out of the ordinary at all. In fact, Iuchi doesn't give any sort of indication that she's anything other than a mortal. Suffice to say, she has sealed away her power, as you noticed her very slight disturbances while within close proximity of a witch. You feel fairly confident that if anyone's watching, they're either far away or are being you would not be able to sense, which is Fiona.
Not very many. No, you can sense Fiona, because essentially Quinn's found that once he sensed somebody, essentially everybody, like the distortion has like a fingerprint. So he'll recognize it. Essentially be like, oh, I sensed something. Oh, that's Fiona. Or, oh, I
Okay.
sensed something. It's that. Like, the powers of space, you know, you essentially, you have like a little ID stamp for everyone. So if they're close enough, you sense them, you immediately know who it is. Which is why when somebody new showed up, it's like, wait, who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
This is a Farseer I don't know. Ah, well, whatever. But yeah, anyways, go on with those, and then we'll go to the Tetris attack of Iuchi Part 2.
D. Given that the fact that Iuchi shouldn't know anything of your interactions with Catherine thus far, and clearly does not have access to her chronomancy right now, you can only assume she looked into you to get an idea of who you are, very likely just before the coven. Because, seeing as nobody ever tells her anything, you imagine it was so that she could figure out who the fuck is this guy, and why are we doing this again, or something along those lines. Something about it's just that is just very, very amusing.
Yeah, it's just like, huh?
What do you mean the coven's being called? Where's the fire? Oh, it's just some dude? Okay.
Isn't this guy like
I'm
super
just sitting here like, if only you
anti-theist?
know how wrong you are, Quinn, but you'll find that out. Sorry, what was that, Amy?
Yep.
I was just like, isn't that guy like super anti-theist or something?
Yeah. Until, like, very recently. When you realize, oh, gods are people. They're just as dumb as the rest of us.
Oh yeah, so Quinn, in time you will know the tragic extent of your failings.
Shut the fuck up with your DD references.
Huh?
It's a Darkest Dungeon reference. What comes next? Let's see.
Alright. My response.
It's below response continual, I think.
Alright, this one.
The one that you responded.
Alright. So, upon the woman finishing her admittedly cleverly masked but still very clear intentions, Zoropia opts to just lay as she is, silently watching you as if to gauge your reaction to what she just said. Though, you instead opt to simply ignore it, for now. And when you eventually step up and tap her lightly with the toe of your boot, as to clue her in to what you're about to say is important, you find that the woman rather promptly rolls away from you. Before then stopping to lay on her back again and look up to you, which you admittedly are taken aback by, albeit only a bit. Because of course she wouldn't know. Okay. Because of course she must know that this means war, right? Oh, who are you kidding? Of course she doesn't fucking know that. She's probably never been physically teased or bullied before, or if she has, in that sort of environment, she very likely kicked their ass to assert to her peers that she is not to be trifled with. However, that is not your problem, because the unspoken and timeless Schoolyard 101 rules clearly states that if you don't like someone doing something frivolous to you, don't leave yourself open for them to do it again, and especially not right away. And by rolling away and not just getting up, Zoropia has done both of these things, though now as an adult, you're doing so here would just make you look like an asshole. Though at that thought, you remember something important. You are an asshole.
That's something you do on a daily basis.
So,
What did you say?
I said, that sounds like me on a daily basis.
yeah, like Quinn's like, if I did that as an adult man at this situation, I just look like an asshole. Oh wait, that's right. I am an asshole. Proceed to bully.
And there's the fact that he's also ran out of fucks too. Because it's like, it's like the fucking nth goddamn cosmic entity at this point. What the fuck?
I also, if I did this, but oh yeah, I don't care.
So after continuing for a while, you take a step forward and do it again. A few times, every so often, with just a tap. With each tap met with a similar result of her not getting up and instead rolling away, albeit now accompanied by a slowly glowing glare and brief statements of protest, though you simply ignore them, as she'll catch on eventually. Besides, a smile that is hilariously failing to hide completely betrays the childish innocence resting behind the glare of daggers and choice words being thrown at you. This situation somehow reminds you of a house cat who's gotten comfy in a chair. And despite you making it abundantly clear that you intend to sit down, the cat refuses to move. There's just only one problem for Zoropia in this scenario. It's that she is just a kitten. Because while making the adult cat move might lead you to err on some degree of caution as to not get scratched and bit to shit, that kitten isn't going to do fuck all to you with its meager size, pathetic reach, and most importantly, its laughably gullibility. So while it may growl, hiss, or even take swipes at your hand as you go to move it, the only thing it's going to accomplish is look adorable swinging at the air, while you simply brush it out of the way with your other hand, which the kitten has completely failed to account for due to its lack of worldly experience. It's like, Nani?
What is this? 2 hands?
2 hands, what?
What sorcery is this?
There's a video of that exact thing happening where it's like, biting left and right.
Yeah, the kitten just doesn't realize, oh yeah, humans have 2 hands and they're really good with them. Essentially what I'm getting at there. Just a cat like, huh?
Meanwhile, adult cats are like, oh, more laceration targets.
It's like I've been forged in the battles of fucking sitting in chairs for 6 years. Come at me, bro.
And then you introduce the cat. Oh, I'm wearing gloves.
Don't worry, I know that the gloves only go up so far.
Now your wrists are fucked.
No, now your fucking shoulders are fucked.
Oh yeah, true.
I remember seeing a meme or a picture thing. Person had a big long diagonal scratch right across their wrist, or wrist even, with a picture of the cat saying, "Now what did you learn? Comment that your cat could make your death look like a suicide attempt or a suicide."
I remember that.
Why is there no suicide note here? Did they own a cat? Yes, that is the suicide note.
That's either yeah, that's the kind of situation Euseropia has found herself in. So just like the kitten, who they realizes, and this is a battle that they cannot win, Euseropia finally hops to her feet and moves away from you. At about the same time as you're finishing too. Which only serves to further highlight the weight of your closing statement, as this is a battle that she was just defeated handedly in. Because while she moves to retrieve her long-since-lost hat, now a dozen or so meters away, the woman tries to look indignant as she brushes herself off, but it doesn't take Magitech innovation to tell you, for as much as you just annoyed the shit out of her, she did have fun with it. Because you can only imagine normalcy is a luxury that is ill-afforded to godlike beings, especially with those with such a strong interest in normal mortal life, like Isaro. As by the time she returned with her hat, she had clearly already gotten over it, and is all smiles as she speaks up while holding a palm in an easing gesture. Okay, you've made your point. Stop trying so hard. Stop selling myself short. Get my priorities straight and figure out who the fuck I am before I figure out what the fuck I want to do. Got it. As the woman punctuates the statement with a clearly sarcastic thumbs up, she brings her hands to her sides. As she does, she dons a rather serious expression, which is a little surprising just how quick her demeanor shifts. However, you're getting the feeling that this is just how she is. Which is to say that she has a strong handle on her emotions, which also tracks, all things considered. Euseropia then speaks up very frankly. With that said, I cannot help but feel that I am definitely going to regret what I'm about to tell you, as every fiber in my being may as well be panicking right now, screaming, "Shut up, stupid!" She crosses her arms. However, you have been perfectly frank, forward, and honest with me, so I'm going to be perfectly frank, forward, and honest with you. Starting with the fact that my being here with you all, here and now, is not entirely genuine, as Oriana and I could have easily met up with the others at Tosi's church. In fact, that would probably have been best for Oriana. Sarah then takes a deep breath before letting out a sigh, where she all but breathes out her first words. But the truth is, I'm a very selfish person. The woman pauses for a brief moment, bringing a finger to her chin before shaking her head. Well, no, I'm actually not selfish at all, at least not anymore anyway. Which is precisely why I intend to be selfish now, given the situation. Because the fact of the matter is this, prior to my waking up as I am now, apparently I could never really rationalize, let alone actually justify, doing what I want to do. As creating witches and obtaining Witch Supreme was all that mattered to me, everything else came second to those two goals. So much so that I had already everything all laid out for me. The perfect plan, tailor-made from my previous self to my current self. All I had to do was just follow it. So what did I do? Certainly was an initial shrug. I didn't follow it. In fact, I actually even went against it. She brings her hands to her sides. Because I have a secret that is so unfathomably big that it could, and very much did, change the course of not only the affairs of our cosmos, but all of eternity as well. When I woke up, I found that I was the only one in existence who knew what I did. However, I quickly found that I had a bit of a problem, you see. Cerebral gives a large shrug. I had no fucking clue who I could trust at the time, let alone who I could trust with something this big. So I did the most rational thing I could think of. She raises a finger, she continues. I went to the one person I knew I couldn't trust, and made a deal with them that would make Asmodeus do a double take. Make even Asmodeus do a double take, because I hold the keys for what they wanted more than anything. And not only could I prove it, I could give it to them, but that I also had no qualms in doing so, either. Provided they kept their end of the bargain, of course. Cerebral laughs with a large grin. Granted, they didn't fucking trust me for an instant back then. In fact, right up until the very moment I made good on our agreement, they didn't trust me. Afterwards, however, she gives an instant shrug, they became the closest thing to a friend that I ever had. Though I cannot communicate with them right now like this. So I'm kind of alone again, but I digress. The woman paused for a few moments to cross her arms again. Anyway, I decided that I would take this secret to the grave, so to speak, as it would be easier for everyone that way, and I do mean everyone. Cerebral pauses before getting a surprised and sad look. Everyone except for me, that is, because I would be the one to shoulder this burden, as nobody else could ever know what happened or just what I did, as it would effectively rewrite recent history. She pauses for a moment before donning a joyless smile. It's funny, really. Anaclisi once said the very same thing to Clackitarn regarding what she had done to my previous self, if she only knew what I knew. The woman's expression turns much more serious. However, Anaclisi will know. In fact, everyone will know the truth about me. Because you just helped me realize something, Quinn, which is that I am Witch Supreme, the highest authority being in all of existence. Her serious expression almost just instantly cracks into a large smile. She practically explodes everywhere, except for that stupid fucking cat, who doesn't even know why he is, let alone nobody fucking knows why. It's just is, but whatever. She quickly shakes her head. It's like that fucking cat. She quickly shakes her head before taking a moment to let out a small sigh before continuing. Anyway, you've helped me realize that it's not too late for me, that I don't have to just blindly accept the hand that fate dealt me. Because you are absolutely right. I do not have to be Easteropia, or even Isla if I don't want to be, because I possess the power and authority to discard the hand that I was dealt and simply draw a new one. One where I pick the cards I want to use. Though for me to do that, one chills off briefly for offering a wry smile. I'm gonna have to make a whole lot of people's lives, both figuratively and literally, a whole lot more difficult for a while. I can only imagine that this is probably something along the lines of how my accomplice felt the very first time that she roared. As the entire cosmos outside of Diotethys had a very binary reaction to its implications. Complete and total panic, or simply frozen in fear. It was evidence that something greater than a god of a god had just been born, though denial very quickly washed those feelings away. The rest of the cosmos has collectively chosen to simply pretend that it never actually happened. They even tried to pretend that Odoroma doesn't even exist either, since she cannot leave Eden, except to go to Nine Hells, as It's linked to literally everywhere on the prime material plane. She gives an instant shrug. Though, that said, when Odoroma is finally unleashed on the cosmos and starts kicking indoors, eating other godly beings, and single-handedly conquering the largest crystal sphere of the cosmos, it'll be a little hard to keep pretending that lines don't exist when you are on the menu whenever Odoroma decides to go out to eat.
Odoroma is literally a cosmic Tarrasque, and that is scary.
Yeah, the goddess of food, the god of food. Just like, all right, now I'm gonna eat the cosmos. Nom nom nom. Isiropi brings a hand to her chin with a difficult expression. Mind you, I'm not saying that Isiropia was my accomplice, as she was
Odoroma.
not. Yeah, Odoroma. Not saying that Odoroma. I'm not saying that Odoroma was my accomplice, as she was not. What I'm trying to get at is that it often takes something very definitive to get people to believe something that is otherwise seemingly unbelievable. Which, unfortunately, is what it's going to have to do. I'm going to have to do. Luckily, I know precisely the right person to do it. She holds up a hand. Though first, I want to get your questions, as their answers may surprise you. So, what did I learn? And what of you did I see? She actually offers you a genuine smile. Well, I'll start by saying not much until after the events of the Coven. So while my words may, at times, say otherwise, I trust Lockhart's judgment as Chief Witch absolutely. I would have never allowed her to become such a being if that were not the case. So before you met me, I literally knew who you were, and that's it, really. As that's all I needed to know at the time, because Locke was very adamant about our doing this. Something she would never do if it was for someone she believed was undeserving of this degree of special attention. She pauses before pressing her hands together, almost bashfully actually. Now, as far as what happened after the Coven, I found myself thinking, I want to know more about this person. He feels very relatable, which I don't exactly relate well with others at all. Hells, you even got Fiona curious about you, though her curiosity was genuine and without ulterior motives. Oh, let's out a small sheepish laugh at the continues. I can't say the same for myself. Because I wanted to meet you, and better get to know the person who I found relatable, because just like myself, you had a tremendous deal of responsibility suddenly just dropped on you, and were suddenly pulled into something much, much bigger than yourself. She brings a hand to her chest. Because that is effectively what happened to me, Quinn. I never asked to be a witch, or to be Witch Supreme, or to be anything or anyone at all. I woke up to find a giant package of responsibility at my door, so to speak. One that I could not send back.
It's like, I have 10 truckloads of bullshit delivered to Isiropia. Are you Miss Isiropia?
Who's asking? Question mark?
The Cosmos.
Yes?
Alright, sign here, please.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, they dropped it. Everything was just fucking dumped on her.
See, happened to me. And one I cannot send back, as there was no one else who could perform what needed to be done. Simply put, I had no choice but to become what I am now. However, that doesn't mean that I cannot do so my way. Which brings her hands to her sides. Because when I woke up, I made a rule for myself. Which is that I will not look into the past of people from before the moment I was awakened, unless I absolutely need to. Though with that said, from what I did see of the past almost 2 months now, I learned enough that I just might have found someone I can actually relate with, as mentioned before. In fact, I found myself wanting to learn more about you. But I refrained from doing so, as that was when I decided maybe I should take a mortal life reincarnation after all. That way I can just get to know him better then. Because there was something about looking into others' pasts from before I even existed that just didn't feel right to me, you know? Iseropia pauses for several seconds. She slowly cups her hands over her chest, as if to allow what she just said to really sink in. And that's when she first admitted that, yeah, I never existed before then.
Yep.
Eventually, her expression shifts into a wry smile as she continues. Because when I awoke almost 2 months ago, it wasn't from being left on a shelf for eons. Well, technically it was. But there's more to it than that. Because that was me waking up for the very first time ever. In other words, I am not the girl who Iseropia and Isla, but I used to be her. How is this possible? Because I am the Witch of Quintessence, and due to the nature of what quintessence is, which is the power of realization, the process of creating my Witch Supreme consciousness was very different from the rest of us witches. As I was to become a being that was unlike any other being who came before me. She offers a small frown. While my essence did not immediately become living quintessence right away, due to my having to wait on Amber to realize the power that she possessed, in order to preserve the balance of power between us witches, my consciousness as the Witch of Quintessence did fully form right away. Where it took part of my consciousness and sense of self and then consumed them, using them as extra fuel for the process of reforming my Chief Magical Girl consciousness and my sense of self into my new Witch Supreme consciousness that I now possess, as well as my new sense of self, which is me, the woman you are now speaking to. She points at the ground. This reforged sense of self that I am is something completely new, while still being made up as the same fundamental building blocks that were there before. This is because the process of becoming the Witch of Quintessence sacrificed unnecessary or damaged parts without making waste of what could still be salvaged and reused. Which, to put in layman terms, Tasmok used my own invention of quintessence to take my sense of self, that was the 14-year-old me in Iseropia, and put it on a shelf eons ago, and then reforged her anew to be largely the same as she was, only better. Though this meant erasing Iseropia in favor of someone completely new that would be better fit for the role of Witch of Quintessence and Witch Supreme, which may sound cruel, but in reality, it was anything but. She crosses her arms with a difficult expression. Because I'm going to tell you the truth about Iseropia, which is that Iseropia and Harmonia were not two different people, but were in fact one and the same, and that the identity of Harmonia existed long before Iseropia was able to create an avatar, because the woman would become one of the two different people depending on the situation she was in. So when she projected this onto her avatar, once she obtained it, it just made it seem like there were two separate individuals, though in reality, Iseropia and Harmonia were just like Lucky Days and Wandering Wind, two of the same person. Iseropia just trails off briefly before continuing this somewhat uneasy tone. Well, she couldn't bring herself to talk to others, so she talked to herself instead. A lot, sadly. Now, nobody knew this, that she did this other than Sunshine, and this was just the coping mechanism that Iseropia used in order to keep herself somewhat sane under the weight of the incredible burden that she now bore. Her obtaining an avatar only made it easier for her to do this. However, Sunshine was still the glue that held this woman together.
At this point. Anyway.
Well, essentially, entirely.
Well, entirely, but not for long because of a certain fucking god.
I'm not sure what you're getting at.
Because the glue was freaking removed from her.
No, she made her own glue. Sunshine was still the glue that held this woman together. Oh yeah, because on Ecclesi, well, that was like eons after this.
Yeah.
But even then, she didn't exactly do that. She did something a little else. But anyways, the witch then gets a very sad look. So when Iseropia was forced to detain Sunshine in a crystal prison due to a nightmare having corrupted Sunshine's physical essence during her process of becoming Magical Girl Supreme, Iseropia, well, she may have started to actually lose it just a little. Though she managed to quickly recover, her solution was that she would just have to become her own glue now. So instead of interacting with her Harmonia puppet, she put her away on the same mental shelf as myself, until she could manage to save Sunshine, though until such a time she created a Sunshine puppet that she would talk with regularly and become as needed. She softly shakes her head. The truth about Iseropia's state of being is actually very sad, but unfortunately, it just gets worse from there. Because when Ecclesi altered Iseropia's memory near the start of our world, she took the Sunshine puppet away from her, which caused Iseropia to immediately shatter, breaking beyond repair, meaning that from that moment onward, Iseropia was effectively a vegetable. However, that was okay, because Ecclesi could still fix her, at least insofar as what she needed Iseropia for, to be the Overgod of Eden. Because she took Iseropia's Harmonia puppet and simply made that puppet Iseropia's new sense of self, something Ecclesi could do as a goddess of memory, as my sense of self was now almost completely broken except for the parts that housed me, still stowed away on Iseropia's mental shelf. So Ecclesi and Elpidon then began playing one big game of do not let Iseropia find out what happened to her, as Ecclesi won't be able to fix her again if she does. The woman lets out a slow sigh. However, this just goes one step deeper, because Iseropia was the orchestrator of destruction of this cosmos, who, until Fiona became a witch, was the entity, the eternity-level being who oversaw the forces of destruction wolves that you've heard a little bit about recently. She lets out a humorous laugh and continued. Honestly, if the author of creation, which is, as their title suggests, the eternity-level being that managed the forces of creation before Amber became a witch, wasn't already in on the plan, this is where we would have been fucked. Because the author had to run cover in Eternity a time or two for why her partner hasn't come out of Cosmos 13 in a while. Thankfully, nobody questioned their explanation due to her reputation. Which lets out an uneasy laugh. Because they would have fished up Harmonia. Well, that's not who Iseropia was up there. And Harmonia didn't know she was the orchestrator either. Suffice to say, that would have been game over for Eden. Frankly, it's a fucking miracle that this God's damn crystal sphere has even made it this far at all. She pauses for a moment before donning a more serious expression. I imagine this is the part where you're wondering, what exactly happened to Harmonia? Well, about that deal I mentioned before, about my accomplice, there is a reason why Ficelle is a witch when she is unqualified to be one. It's because I told her that she could become one, and what she could do if she did. However, she would have to become the Witch of Opportunity, as she could literally not perform the duties of any other witch. Because there is a reason all of us who became witches were once magical girls. I cannot go into that reason due to Pandora's box stuff, but just trust me, it was required.
Just trust me, bro.
Just trust me, bro. Though, the Witch of Opportunity's role is to do pretty much whatever the fuck they want, as they have the freedom to act when and where they see fit best. If their actions were to ever conflict with another witch, then it would fall on the chief witch to adjudicate the matter accordingly, but I digress. She waves her hand dismissively. Anyway, I needed Facella's help because she was no stranger to bending rules. And wow, has that been in here this whole time? It didn't die?
Yep.
Wow. That's unprecedented.
Yes, it is. She fucking dumped everything.
I'm like, this is why you guys can do your checks, because I have this coming.
Yeah. I mean, it's like... It makes more sense now, though. When I was first reading this, I was like, what? But yeah. Now
she kind of like spilled the beans of, Easteropia, you know when Anaclese tried to kill Easteropia, she might have kind of succeeded.
Yep, because she broke her.
Well, she broke her and then she killed her.
Yeah.
So she technically did both. Because Taskmok just deleted her. Like, well, this one's no good. We're just gonna make a new one. Save everything else that ain't broken. Okay, where the fuck was I? I lost my place.
Well done.
Jesus Christ, there's still that much left of this?
Yeah. I was like, when I first fucking read this, I'm like, how many blocks?
See, where's this?
Where the fuck? Like, now I lost it. God damn it.
Congratulations.
Alright, I'm actually near the end of this one. Let's see. Here.
Not the rogue.
Yeah, Facella, here we go. Anyway, I needed Facella's help because she was no stranger to bending the rules and doing some very unsavory things.
There we go.
So I made a deal with her that she could become a witch if she helped me deal with my rogue avatar problem. And in a way that nobody would suspect anything amiss about me. Because I told her exactly what I was, or rather, who I no longer was. As Facella and Harmonia were, for lack of a better term, in constant cold war with one another. Suffice to say, Facella wasn't buying it at first, but I managed to eventually win her over when I showed her that I was willing to give her, which was the power to make herself a real mortal whenever she wanted it, while still maintaining her godhood and her powers as a witch when needed, as well. Which was only possible due to her mad scientist experiments she had performed herself thus far, because she was a lion. A janky fucking, like, disfigured, like, Igor fucking lion, but a lion.
Yep. It's like, it's got like, freaking... It's got like, you know, when you, inject the needle poorly, and it, like, bruises. She's, like, bruised all over. It's like, I'm a lion, I swear.
I definitely needed that mental image of the needle when I already battled with them vibes.
Well, that makes it even more better.
Well, then you don't want to look at my arm right now. I have like 3 fucking needle bruises because the nurse I went to fucking sucked. I can barely move my arm for the past like 2-3 days.
Oh,
I've
fair.
honestly never had that problem. I have very good circulation, and my
I
veins are easy to
But
find.
I have
Lucky
good veins. Yeah, I have good veins too, and like good circulation. But the nurse just sucked because it was like her first fucking day or something. I'm like, goddamn luck. Like, I haven't had that issue ever.
I had tried to donate blood to help get over my fear of needles. Guess who has too thin of veins for that to work?
Nice. I have really
Let's
good
see,
veins. Like they're really visible.
Yep. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. There we go. She gives a large shrug. Was I about to make the most powerful godly being that has ever existed and will probably ever exist? Fuck yes I was, as I didn't exactly have a choice. I needed Facella's help. And I knew I could trust her, provided I genuinely intended to give her what I was offering. Which I was, and I did. Which lets out a long sigh. And so began the game of cat and mouse with my new triple agent, who was working for the Diotefus Mafia, but was actually working for me. Granted, mine and the Mafia's interests did align, and capturing Harmonia had been one of their goals for a very long time now. So it all kind of just worked out in the end, albeit just barely, as things got very sketchy there at the end when Iseropia's avatar came back to check on why Iseropia had blatantly disregarded following the plans she had laid out for herself. Though she also came back with the intention of herself being captured and eaten in order to fuel the little munchkins of our world, which was Iseropia's end game. Sacrifice her avatar in order for the gods of our world to grow to become something greater, using her avatar's eternity essence. Shopper's a wry smile. However, doing so without her realizing that there was something clearly amiss about me was a bitch and a half. Frankly, we owe our world's ass to the author of creation, and they're taking the lead to guide things along naturally is what saved our bacon at the 11th hour, giving me the opportunity to promptly stab my avatar in the back, and then leave her to Anaclisi and Maria to dispose of. The woman throws out her arms to her sides before falling down and onto the ground with a frustrated, albeit relieved sigh. And that is how I came to be, as well as how I disposed of my rogue avatar, because under normal circumstances, this would have been just as easy as my dismissing my avatar and calling it a day. However, there was a big problem with that. She turns her head to look at you. Iseropia gave her avatar full control over itself a long time ago, which, yes, is just as fucking crazy as it sounds. But this woman hasn't exactly been all there for a while now. And this is precisely why Anaclisi needed to alter Iseropia's memory to the degree that she did. Because Iseropia's avatar was a fucking time bomb. If anything, at any point, started to go bad. This is because my avatar, her consciousness and sense of self did not undergo the same changes that I did. In fact, nothing had changed about her at all, other than she was now more powerful due to the change of my essence. She brings a hand to her chest. So when you consider that I, the new and improved and less crazy Iseropia, had existed for, not even 2 fucking weeks of mortal time at the time, it doesn't matter if Harmonia was an avatar with only a fraction of my power. She was an avatar with only a fraction of my power and quadrillions of years of real combat experience over me. Suffice to say, if it came down to her deciding to replace me, I would have been powerless to stop her. Long story short, unless we wanted a slightly insane rogue avatar, witch avatar with over-god authority to actually go rogue, her learning I was no longer her was simply not an option. Though thankfully we managed to prevent this from happening. She pauses for a few seconds before a look of realization dawned on her.
That is still so insane.
You guys had no idea how close you came to a fucking Harmonia BBEG a few times. You have no idea.
Yep. This is remember when we were looking at fucking Null hair and thinking that George Ramsey was a big deal? Then there's shit like this.
Nolan Ramsey.
Nolan Ramsey.
I'm just waiting for Benedict Arnold to show up.
He's out there somewhere. Don't think I forgot about him. He's the star of Hummel.
He's the champion of the God of Lies.
Let's see, where was I?
joking, but what if I'm right?
I think.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There you go.
She pauses for a few seconds for a look of realization on her. Oh yeah, I don't exactly have a real name yet, now that I actually think about it, as I figured I honestly wouldn't need one. Because I was already Iseropia as far as the cosmos and eternity was concerned, and I was just going to keep being Iseropia from now on anyway. So I honestly never thought about a name until just a few minutes ago. She gives a small shrug. With that all said, we have effectively come full circle. As I am still the same person I was before I told you all of this. The only difference is that you are now aware of the fact that who I am is not Iseropia, Hells, or anyone else for that matter, because Taskmach quite literally extracted Iseropia from this sense of self using quintessence before then installing the shiny new me into it as Witch of Quintessence. I'm fairly certain that the reason why Taskmach did this was because most of Iseropia's sense of self was still technically broken. So she would have undoubtedly been judged to be unfit for use for this new being that was to be created. So her sense of self was instead recycled in order to create me. She offers you a wry smile. Meaning that while I may not be Iseropia, I still need to stop trying so hard, stop selling myself short, get my priorities straight, and figure out who the fuck I am before I figure out what the fuck I'm gonna do.
I remember
So
reading.
essentially, nothing has changed. You just know the truth.
Yep. I still remember reading this the first time. I'm like, what the fuck did I just read?
The single biggest secret that I have made.
Jesus. As Iseropia finishes her, quote, origin story, Quinn lets out a long sigh. Placing his hands on his hips, he looks at the prone woman, silently staring at her with a flat look. An unfathomably large secret indeed. Honestly, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. This crystal sphere's a clusterfuck. So, all the shenanigans you pulled fit right in. Made the poor Sapermonia's soul rest in peace. Trickster vanished from existence without ever knowing that she would. Surely that's one hell of a way to go. Quinn then takes a slow steps to walk up to Iseropia's face, before pocketing both his hand and bending down, looking straight down at her. So, what's next, you little catten? It'll be, let's see, calling that meanie that was sent careening to a tree.
This is fucking priceless. That's probably one of my favorite moments in Rain so far, was Maria getting punted up into a tree.
Yep, just whee!
Because I showed you some hints about her recently that there's a lot more to her than you think. Yeah, you just punted that person up into the tree.
Yep.
And then she fell down, hitting a bunch of branches on the way down, and she slipped.
Yeah,
And
frozen branches too, so it's like...
Yeah, it's frozen branches, so she's like... Doof, 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 doof. So yeah, she had quite a first impression of Quinn.
It's like, I don't care who you are.
Like,
You
oh,
don't
that's
have
an asshole that punted me up into the tree that I fell out of.
Well, I chalk up onto not my problem.
Exactly. It's like, that's not my problem. That's a skill issue on your end.
Yeah,
No.
Get good, scrub, learn to climb. What, you making it at triple disadvantage? Use inspiration. Get the fuck out of here.
No. That's not what I mean by it's not my problem. That's literally not my problem. That's a Quinn problem now.
Exactly.
I think it's funny that Starlight moved just so fucking Lucky would get hit.
Yep. Starlight and
It's
Lucky
like,
have
he is
freaking
clearly
frenemies.
rubbed off on her.
Yep, they're frenemies.
When the
Yeah,
AI
pretty
has
much.
discovered her sense of humor, you best run.
Pretty much. And it's based on a cat.
Well, it could be worse. It could be based off an orange cat.
Well,
Could
he's a
be.
black cat, so at least he's very lucky.
It's just that everybody else are less so.
Yeah, everyone else around him, not so much.
No,
Like
I'm
what
not gonna-
Roma said, like this guy is like a prank that fate played on the cosmos. You know, a black cat named Lucky Days, and he's the biggest fucking troll in existence.
Yep.
No. It still could be worse though. He could be an orange.
I think that's the only way he could be worse, honestly.
So do we
Like
continue?
the only way is he's an orange tabaxi.
You know?
Going that meanie that was sent careening to a tree. I think she was the curator of the Crystal Sphere, and she was called Maria, I think, and have her announce that Iseropia is dead, yeah? Since you won't be Ayla, or not Iseropia, who will you be? Granted, you probably haven't had any time to think of Jack for what or who you are. You even said as much yourself. He then carefully bops her on the crown of the head with the tip of his boot, dropping the hat off of her head again. I'd say that I hate to be the asshole, but I don't think there's not much I can do to help you figure yourself out. The best I can do is to say what I said earlier and what you echoed. As for how to do it, I guess that comes with after you've got who figured out. Considering you're all the fucking way here instead of Tosi's church alongside Oriana, I'd still think you're pretty damn selfish, considering your reasons. Curiosity or not, operative smoothness comes first. Well, I guess that's a bit Yep.
Sorry, God.
about that. Fucking a la Sofia. But I guess that's a dead fish in the water for a topic. Appreciate the honesty though. It's pretty refreshing, and frankly, what happened was a damn roller coaster, but what's settled. Takes a couple steps back. So, need me for the declaration the mean will make, or what? Got anything else in your mind? Then insight.
Inside.
It's pretty clear that your bullying your points home worked rather spectacularly, actually, as what you had to say clearly stuck, meaning that she took what you had to say very seriously and to heart, despite the means by which they were delivered. Suffice to say, this woman values your opinion highly. Yay! And then...
The woman offers you a wry smile as she points up at you. In my defense, coming here is what Iseropia would have done, as she would not have been very concerned about Oriana and her interactions with mortals at this point, due to her successful upbringing to have come this far. However, I disagree, as Oriana could probably do with some more normal mortal interactions that aren't in a land full of everything outside the village wants to kill you and can. Preferably before she's unleashed into the wider world at large. And Tosi's church would have been perfect for that, yet that was my opinion, not Iseropia's. She then reaches back over her head and puts her hat back on, before raising to her feet as she continues. To be perfectly honest, I've been at odds with more than a few of my actions over the past 2 months. However, what I felt about them simply was irrelevant, as I still had to play the part. However, I don't have to worry about what Iseropi would do anymore. She pauses for a moment before brushing herself off. It feels more than a little weird to actually say that out loud. My entire existence so far has been nothing but constantly considering, what would Iseropia do here? What would Iseropia say here? And so on. What I felt always came second to these things. Yet, I don't have to do that anymore. Which brings a hand to her chin with a contemplative look. This will take some time getting used to say the least, but in a good way. After a few seconds, she dons a smile. With all that said, I have decided what name I will go by. Sophia. which means wisdom in Celestial, as I like to think myself to be more wise than my predecessor, or at the very least, I hope to become more wise than she was. Because I cannot help but look at so many of her actions and decisions and think to myself, if she had done this or had done that, then things would have turned out better. Because Easteropia was very intelligent, almost scarily so. However, she lacked the wisdom to engage and trust others. Shin softly shakes her head. I will not make the same mistake that she did, so I will learn from her shortcomings using the benefit of hindsight. So Sophia it is. Sophia then points to you. Though, what has been done, and the least I can do while I'm here is help out the best of my ability, as I don't frankly care what foreign godly beings think about my involvement to the degree that I feel best fit from here forward. She's out of fucks to give.
Yeah,
Time to get serious. Time to do something about this Garoad problem.
Indeed.
Which shakes her head. However, I'm not here as Witch Supreme or even the Witch's quintessence. I am here as Sophia the Mortal, not Sophia the Witch. So I won't be using any of that power or authority to aid us on the journey ahead. However, with the announcement that is about to be made by the mini in question here shortly, I won't need to say anything more in my official capacity as a witch anyway. She then points at you candidly. Because as the saying goes, speak softly and carry a big stick. So I'm going to shoot you a wink. And I'll have you know that I carry a very big stick. Unfortunately, the cosmos as a whole does not yet know to what degree, as the overwhelming vast majority of all of it are unable to read the Witch Supreme Index entry. Other than cosmic level beings, there are only a scarce few others out there with access to it. In other words, not very many people in the cosmos at all. So I'm going to have the mini do is help me provide a bit of clarity for everyone else who can read the Truth Seer indexes in the Chronicle Mortal Fates, which is just about everyone who can read the index, as they are effectively public. Any information contained within that one's reading it would not be privileged to will effectively see redacted text in those portions. Because they're just good like that.
Yep. He's good.
It's like, oh, a new update from the Truth Eternal, just a block of just redacted text. Maybe next time. Oh wait, there's a sentence in this one I can read. And then this. Redacted. God damn it. It's like you got that, like, low person, not very high authority when they get something from a Truth Sayer and they can read at least a third or more of it, and they're like, oh, this must be big!
Yep, it's like, oh, this is I can read the update. Let's go.
It's like, oh shit, the patch notes dropped and I can see a third of them, yeah!
If only.
She pauses for a few moments before a look of realization dawns on her. Oh yeah, I cannot contact her myself. Though thankfully Key is being kind enough to operate as a sort of middleman for those of us reincarnating presently, if needed. Though with that said, I think you will find what comes to be very interesting. For a few moments, another familiar voice speaks up, hereby prompting the two of you to turn to face it, where you find Maria. This is gonna be fun.
Because Sophia has a somewhat curious look before the witch brings her hands to her sides, as the two just kind of stare at each other. We can only assume the two are having a mental conversation. However, it's not more than a few seconds before Maria's eyes slowly widen, which is then soon accompanied by a clear look of visible surprise. After a few seconds of this, Maria looks your way before addressing you with a faint grin and an almost amused tone. My, oh my, what have you done, Quinn Talker? She trails off briefly to look out into the horizon, seemingly at nowhere in particular as she continues. Because of your actions here today, the cosmos is about to be thrown into utter chaos for the next few days, relative to the mortal calendar. She pauses for a few seconds before the elven woman gives an indifferent shrug as she turns back to the two of you. However, that is not our problem, now is it? Nor is it our problem if our guests have their attention pulled away from our world at an inopportune time, either. I will now begin. Maria turns away just a bit and extends a palm before speaking firmly. I, Maria, the Truth Eternal, hereby state the following in my official capacity as a truthsayer. It has been brought to my attention that some clarifying regarding the identity of the Witch Supreme is in order, which is that Isseropia, the author of Calamity, is not, nor has she ever been, the sense of self of any other individual prior to her creation. In short, the Witch of Quintessence is not the same individual she was proper to her becoming a witch, or prior to becoming a witch, but is now someone entirely new. Sophia, the Green Witch. The precise reason for why this was done is not yet known beyond mere speculation at the time of my writing this. End statement. She lowers her arm.
No, it's all right.
She lowers her arm briefly before extending it again and continuing. I, Maria, the Truth Eternal, hereby state the following in my official capacity as a truthsayer. I imagine many of you, reading this, likely know little more about witches than what I have already said on the matter, as well as the rumors heard regarding the events of the witching hour that shook the cosmos not even 2 months ago by the mortal calendar, leaving many of you with questions regarding these new beings, such as what they are exactly, whose interests do they serve. Some amongst you have even demanded explanations for the destruction left in their wake. To this I say, perhaps I wasn't clear. Every single individual, be it mortal soul, godlike being, godly being, or otherwise, who were destroyed during the witching hour, were all guilty of both knowingly and willingly conspiring and colluding with the forces of destruction to undermine the forces of creation. This event was carried out under the order of the Paragon of Justice herself. This is a truth that is absolute, so this topic will be debated no further. End statement. Maria once again lowers her arm briefly, before extending it and continuing. I, Maria, the Truth Eternal, hereby state the following in my official capacity as a truthsayer. In light of the fact that the overwhelming majority of you cannot access the Witch entry in the Chronicle of Mortal Fates Index, the Witch Supreme, Sophia, has requested that I relay a message from her to you all, where she says, quote, there appears to be a great deal of misunderstanding regarding the existence of witches and what role we serve in our cosmos. First, do address those demanding to have us answer for the destruction left in the wake of the Witch of Possibility and the Witch of Certainty recent actions. To them I say, do you all truly believe it is to be merely a coincidence that the only beings who can even see the Witch Index entry at all are agents of this cycle of life and death? And that the only beings that can actually read it are agents of time and cosmic level beings and greater? And that the only beings who can read the Witch Supreme Index entry is the Paragon of Time themselves, and a higher ranking cosmic level beings and greater? Have none of you godly beings questioning our roles and actions ever considered the implications of these restrictions? Of course you haven't. In fact, I imagine almost all of you reading this at the time of its writing are quite likely taken aback, or perhaps even offended, that lowly chronomancers are allowed to know what we witches are, and not you all. Most of you no doubt question just how it is that we witches have been allowed to run roughshod in the affairs of the cosmos, with little to no regard for the damage left in our wake. To this, I refer to the common mortal saying, be careful what you wish for, as we might just get it. So seeing as just how very many there are of you who wish to have answers to these questions and many more, I have decided to exercise my authority as Witch Supreme in order to grant this wish, so that you all may have your answers. However, In order for me to do so in a way that is both truthful and satisfactory, I must first correct yet another misconception held by almost all of those of the cosmos, which is that the cosmic hierarchy as you all know it to be is simply incorrect. So I will now set the record straight with a true cosmic hierarchy. Starting from lowest authority to highest authority, it is as follows. Agents of the forces of creation and the forces of destruction, agents of the cycle of life and death, agents of time, and then agents of fate. It is now made clear, I have a message for all chronomancers of the cosmos. Your unique birthright has granted you all extraordinary power beyond the scope of what your other mortal peers could only ever dream of obtaining. With this power comes a unique responsibility, one that you carry out independently, at your discretion, and how you best see fit. So know that you will no longer be made to kowtow or bend the knee to any godly being in the cosmos, as you all exist in a hierarchy that is above all godly beings in the cosmos, save for one singular godly being, the goddess of fate, Starlight, the lodestar of hope. From the time of this writing and onward, you will now answer to her and only to her, because it is you all who are the true mediators of the cosmos, free to act precisely when and where you see best fit in order to maintain the balance of the eternal struggle. That is your role as agents of time, a role which has been stolen from you by powerful godly beings sporting an ideology of might makes right. So I imagine they will then have no qualms with me using my very own power and authority to take away from them what is rightfully yours, and then my returning it to you all as I am now. So, should any godly being attempt to retaliate or coerce any of you chronomancers, take your grievances straight to Oriana, the Blue Witch. Because as the Witch of Magic, she is the Witch of Time, in all but name. Pending the results of her investigation using the Book of Creation, if a godly being is found to be guilty of attempting to influence any of you through these underhanded tactics, beyond reasonable doubt, they will be immediately destroyed. So to the godly beings of the cosmos, consider yourself now officially warned, as there will be no second warnings. Now, about those answers, why is it that only agents of time and cosmic level beings can be the witch index entry of the Chronicle of Mortal Fates? And how is it that only the paragon of time and very higher ranking cosmic level beings can be the witch supreme index entry? And how is it that we witches are allowed to operate seemingly without consequence, regardless of the degree of destruction left in the wake of our actions? Well, it should go without saying where our authority lies at this point, given what I have established with the true cosmic hierarchy, as well as the degree of restricted access to our index entries. I shall say it all the same, just so that it is crystal clear. We witches reside in a hierarchy consisting of a small few individuals that operates above all others, but we are agents of fate. And atop this For we are agents of fate. And atop this lofty hierarchy above all, save for one individual, stands myself, the Witch Supreme. Now, in regards to our crimes and the damage left in their wake, know that we were not created to be mediators. No, because mediation is the role of the agents of time. We witches were created to with the express intent to intervene, when and where we see fit, and as such, there are no questions of legality regarding our direct interventions or foretelling of knowledge anywhere in the rules of engagement. But we stand as a group of individuals that operate both figuratively and literally above the law. Many of you now doubt one question, worry, or ponder. How is this possible? How indeed? However, that is a question best directed at yourselves, because there's another common mortal saying that is very apt for this situation. All evil needs to succeed is for good men to do nothing. And so very, very many of you have not only done nothing about the tyrants and criminals in your midst, but have willingly turned a blind eye and knowingly looked the other way to their actions. If everyone played nice and followed the rules of engagement as they are intended, we witches would not be needed. In fact, it is precisely because so many of you all exploit loopholes, weaponize technicalities, and bend rules beyond reasonable extent, and at the expense of not only your peers, but also your betters. That we witches even exist at all. So, agents of the forces of creation, and agents of the cycle of life and death, you have no one to blame for our existence, other than yourselves. As I will not fault the forces of destruction for outsmarting you. If anything, I commend them for their cleverness of actually managing to get you all to turn on one another and do their bidding for them. With all of this said, we witches are no tyrants, so we have delegated duties of intervention amongst the 8 of us and govern ourselves according to these standards and principles set for ourselves based on those that can be found in the rules of engagement. So know that we witches simply follow much of the rules of engagement as a courtesy to you all, for we are aware that it is unfair for us to simply act whenever and wherever we want without any regard for your wishes or well-being. Granted, we can, if we feel it necessary. So it will be very wise to keep this in mind, should any of you find yourselves in the presence of a witch, especially myself, the Witch of Quintessence, and Oriana, the Witch of Magic. Now lastly, to address any disbelief any of you might have at what I have said here, consider the following. If what I have just said was untrue, would the true Eternal be able to speak it herself in her official capacity as a truthsayer? No, she would not. End quote. End statement.
The biggest mic drop in existence.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Easily, it doesn't even fucking compare.
Scroll, trying to find where I went.
Yeah, it's a fun
There we
read.
go.
Not as fun to read as Eloic's revival, but still.
Yeah, Maria is like, this has been a long time coming. She may have enjoyed that.
It's probably the first time forever she's got to exercise her acting chops.
Yeah, Maria doesn't act. She barely does emotions, but she can, mostly. She's kind of ancient.
Yep.
She's a Martian, which predates Earth. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of things in the cosmos still around that predates Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking, did you survive the apocalypse? What apocalypse? Nothing.
That's
They all
funny.
just say that at once. Like, huh? Alright, upon Maria finishing, she simply vanishes, prompting Sophia to clap her hands together before giving a crisp nod and turning away. And that should do it! She brings her hand to her sides as she continues. Would be a real shame if a group of mortal-level assassins went about target a bunch of mortal VIPs in the midst of all this chaos that our guests are undoubtedly addressing elsewhere. No, wouldn't it? She points at you candidly. With that said, we should probably catch up with the others and see what Malt and Matilda have planned, so we are at least clued in as to what they'll all be up to while we do our cleaning. And then checks. I love this track.
Yep.
Yep. I was like, because you messaged me about this like pretty late.
Yeah, I was spending hours trying to find something for this character.
So it was like a fucking matter of pride for me because it's like I'm like, does this work? No, checked it. Does this work?
Like, this is one of the most nuanced characters I have ever created. This needs to be perfect.
Suffice to say, she's a character who's a character who's a character who's a character who's a character, but it's actually not a character, but is a character.
It's a real
Yep.
character.
Underneath it all is one big lie, and just some girl just trying to make shit work.
Yup.
Exactly.
I know that you know that I know that you know that I know that you know that I know that you know.
And now, at long last, after God knows how many sessions, she can start having character development. Which she did real fast. Hey Mario, want to drop a bomb of truth on the cosmos? Sure. Yeah, here you go.
Gladly.
Just his hands are like it's nuclear weapon. Just be sure to point that in that direction. If you hit something over there, they'll figure it out.
But I still say, by the way, from PG3, okay, Gale, if you start feeling like you're gonna explode, teleport yourself to the abyss. It'll be funny.
You know, maybe knock out a few layers. Maybe it'll split in half or something.
Yeah, because technically there wouldn't be precedent, so nothing would be involved to stop it, and it's a mortal's decision. However, after the first time that has happened, okay, we're gonna work on setting up barriers to prevent this from ever happening again.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, this will never happen. You know, until,
Right.
like, fast forward an infinitely long amount of time, some asshole teleports and blows up, like, 6 layers, and, like, then there's that one demon in the back. Guys, remember that conversation we had, like, 46 trillion years ago?
Well, we
I
have
do.
Wolf in the background after all that, plotting to make that into an advantage.
It's like the one guy, but the one guy's actually right.
And, like, Wolf saw it coming, but chose not to say anything because it benefits her.
Yeah, pretty much. Meanwhile, she just cashes in because just her and this guy were right. So
Well,
they split it 50-50.
What the fuck do you mean Jeffrey was right?
He's never right about anything.
Fucking hell. Alright,
Wait,
we'll secure it.
wait, how much did I wager on that bet? Oh, fuck. That's when the Abyss just have a collective, oh, fuck, moment when they realize they all lost.
I like
More just pride.
Meanwhile, Valley Girl Loaf is just cashing in on all the benefits. You know, I like totally have a system that'll prevent this from happening again. You just have to sign on the
totally kept it from you all so I could just rake in the cash. Like,
Just
it's
sign
so
on the
obvious.
dotted line
You
and don't
didn't even
have-
see it.
Just sign on the dotted line and don't ask any questions.
Thanks, bye. Okay, thanks, bye.
Heh.
Like, oh my god, let's continue.
Yeah, let's.
It's like so totally awesome. We're almost at Tinkertown even. It's gonna be great. I love
You
it.
goop.
Oh, fuck. No, the way you're saying that is making me think during all this mess here in Tinkertown that Loaf's gonna show up there.
So
At
yeah,
this
which
point, who
means-
fucking knows?
I think it's a check.
Depends on how much Belinda's gonna say, fuck the police.
I mean, isn't she a demon? And demons are kind of banned from Dietetes, so...
Oh yeah, there's that detail. There's a reason why there are no demons here.
Actually,
There's a lot of devils working very hard to keep them out.
technically, Loaf is still a goddess, just banished to the abyss, and she just made it into an advantage.
Yeah, the
That's
technically, Idiok like looks over it, checks out. And
That's
enjoy
like
your
every
stay.
single... That's like every single JRPG... How every single JRPG BBG is made. I'm technically a god, but I was a god 50 million years ago.
Idiot's like this is technically correct. The best kind of correct. Enjoy your stay.
As long as you follow the rules here, I will not say anything.
Meanwhile, he's just like, looks at like 7 arms. Keep an eye on that one.
Like, we're gonna watch you especially, but you're welcome.
You get all the courtesies that we, give to our guests. We're just watching you close.
Because we know who and what you are. And it turns out that's the plan. Just get all attention focused on her and away from others.
I know, and that's when we get a lot of shit done. Anyways, so let's see. Where is next? Who is next?
What is next?
What is next? Why is next?
When is next? Why is next?
Yeah, why is next? Why not now? Things are you.
Yeah. Okay. It's abundantly clear that Maria's initial reaction must have been Iseropia revealing the truth about her origins. Which is that she isn't Iseropia at all, but a refurbished past self of Iseropia, with a shiny new identity that is completely new. Because nobody's going to see that one coming. Blum. Blum. Her visible surprise is no doubt Sophia relaying her message for the cosmos, which is effectively Sophia saying, yes, I can legally do this thing that nobody else in existence can do, which is foretell an utterly unprecedented level of knowledge beyond the degree that any given being in the cosmos does not already know. No doubt at the fact that not only she can do it, but that she's actually doing it too. That look Maria gave you, along with her comment, shows that Maria is all but saying, do you have any idea what you just did, Quinn? But in a good way, as it's clear by Maria's willingness that this will be a big boon. So whatever Sophia is about to drop in the cosmos is clearly going to keep the foreign godly beings in your world preoccupied for a short while. What fortuitous timing.
A very long short while.
Yep. Relatively short while.
Well, it's gonna be the longest day in a lot of people's lives. Shortened lives, but hey. That's not your problem.
Yep.
Yeah, what fortuitous timing, you all.
Yeah, how lucky. Lucky.
It's like, oh, now we can go after Divine Champions too? Okay.
That works.
Alright, they leave, they get up effectively, like, for the PC, go get a drink or something, come back. Their Divine Champion's just a fucking specter. Huh? I was gone for, 3 seconds! What happened?
Yeah, what the hell happened?
Meanwhile, their Divine Champion's like, help! Shut up!
Or in the case of Valby with once Indiana comes across, because more than likely gonna get a few things of Valor. Just boom, suddenly Divine Spark weapon gone, kill a few more civilians. Okay, got another one. Boom, Divine Spark weapon gone.
Yeah, the question is, how many sparks can you pop before people realize something's up?
Well, they're good thing everyone's distracted by all the other shit going on. Oh.
Eventually someone's gonna wake up in the ER. Guys, quick, get back to the antennas!
But by then, it might be too late.
Honestly,
I don't
considering it's Yami and how good he's at planning, wouldn't put fucking past him.
I don't know, things have become very interesting with a certain little big girl showing up.
Oh, it's Bella? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Bella...
Because she was not an option for the role of who can come.
Mm-hmm.
Sakura is the best technical, essentially you roll a fucking a 20 or an 18 and higher and a fucking 1. That's Sakura. Yeah, the little girl, she was not an option because I'm yeah, first of all, Belinda would never allow it. For long.
Mm-hmm.
Second, because I'm not letting her loose in there. Are you crazy? The dice are oh shit, I guess I am. Well,
we have Kion, we have Bella, we're going to have fucking
not only
angry
you have
fucking Belinda.
The second best result, plus the secret fucking Konami code fucking result.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Is Belinda gonna drag anyone with her for this?
I fucking
You have
guarantee.
no clue.
I guarantee Sakura will be there. Why the fuck wouldn't she be?
I'm just asking if she will or not. Not that I would know.
You'll find out when it happens.
I'm pretty sure Sakura's gonna be there. But hey, when have I
Assuming
been
this
right?
means you have not yet, I'm assuming this also means you don't know because you're not rolling yet.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I'm just not gonna roll anything until session because that's gonna be a lot of fun to just be like, well, this happened.
It will. I'll laugh if Sakura shows up though because
I'm gonna have a lot of stuff prepared, but as far as what I use, you'll find out when I do.
And the reason I laugh for that is just okay. This may or may not have became trivial, but well, relatively trivial.
Well, let's just say that there's no such thing as win more in that town.
Hey, I don't mind win more anyway, but
Like, no matter how big you put a dent, it's not gonna break the door down. Yet.
oh, who says I'm
If
aiming
you
for
guys
those?
happen to break the door so it no longer is operational, things happen.
Who says I'm aiming for the door? I'm aiming for the wall.
Who needs a door when you can make a door?
You know, the hilarious thing is, it's not unheard of for fire with how doors are getting reinforced with all the reinforced security doors or whatever. It's not unheard of for like firefighters or whatever to just break through the walls or whatever instead because it's quicker.
Yep. Alright, so... Please.
Yeah.
Emmy, are you ready?
No. Continue.
Alright, let's record, let's go.
Continue.
Listening to Sophia's reveals via truth saying. Queen gives Maria and her prior comments raised eyebrow. What? I only did what I do with mortals. Turns out this magenta murder miss had the equivalent of a Moab cluster-rated hypercharged magic bomb of a secret with her. Well, literally in her. And if we're to be precise, from what I can tell, the jerks up in the cosmos are just the same old as they are on the mortal level. At least, now we need to get creative. This'll be good. Saying that last bit with a bit of a foxy grin, he then turns to Isoropia. That might be the highest of station or whatever, but it still feels good to be the hunter. It's like a sweet old homecoming. Let's go and do a good little rough and tumble with some VIPs. I'm pretty sure the others are waiting. And we return to camp.
Check.
What check?
Down below. Just a little ways.
Oh yeah, freaking insight.
Insight.
Yeah, a grand 21. Sophia seems satisfied with how things went. You suspect that this was a long time coming, as in something she has wanted to do for a while, but it was something Isoropia would not have done for whatever reasons Isoropia would have. Suffice to say, the two must have different philosophies on how to handle different things. Which, when you consider the foundation of Sophia's persona, is rooted in the experiences of a 14-year-old mortal, Isoropia before she became a magical girl. That is a lot of time to develop different ways of doing things. Sophia appears to be more decisive, and is probably less concerned with inconveniencing others. In short, she's not afraid to use her authority if she deems it appropriate. You also suspect this action might have to do with that quote from that Earthling philosopher about how, if you're going to be evil or cruel, best to get it all out of the way at once. So as to not need to take extreme actions again anytime soon.
Machiavelli.
Niccolo Machiavelli, yep.
So yeah, there's a Machiavellian Witch Supreme runner around, and have fun, Cosmos.
Oh boy.
And she's out of fucks to give.
Yeah, have fun. Because she seems both relaxed and determined. Sophia is clearly prepared for what is to come, and is also still clearly happy to actually be included in something for a change.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's like, yay, I get to do things.
Yeah, for freaking once.
Hey, narration. See here.
Here we go. Yeah, this is the Holy shit, we're actually in Tinkertown
We
now.
made it Tinkertown, but don't worry, that's only half-ish.
Let's go.